Nehru Planetarium, and RRI, Bangalore. Creactive, as a space tutor, celebrated World Space Week by organizing a talk on satellite communication. Creactive conducted 3 where children got the opportunity to meet subject experts of different fields. Creactive has recognized blooming talents and interests, sir, on the occasion to celebrate 50 KSTA, Professor Niranjan sir, KSOU, Mr. Abhishek from Gravity Science Foundation, Mr. Santosh from Mysore Science Foundation, and Arivu School, Sri Chidambara Free Library, and Anand Sir Agastya Foundation, Dr. G. Venkatesh Sir from KPA, and from Kutuhale. And all the creative volunteers, all the kind-hearted people who never hesitate to support us. Supporting hands are more than praying lips. Thank you. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, Suprema. I request all to sit back and visualize the journey of Creactive through this short video.
Now, I humbly request Dr. Nanda Prakash, Department of Physics, to introduce our President of today's program, Professor Sharanappa V. Halse.
Good evening, one night, everyone. Professor Sharanappa V. Halse is currently serving as a Vice Chancellor of Karnataka State Open University and Professor of Electronics, Karnataka State Women's University, Bijapur. He obtained PhD in Electronics from Gulbarga University. Professor Sharanappa V. Halse has served as a Register Evaluation and Register Administration of Gulbarga University, Gulbarga. He served as a Register Administration in Davangere University and also the Vice Chancellor of Davangere University during 2018 to 2022. He has published more than 120 papers, research papers in national and international journals. He guided 8 PhD students and 20 MPhil students. Presently, 8 students are pursuing PhD under his supervision. Professor Sharanappa V. Halse, nominated as chairperson and nominee of the Government of Karnataka for the search committee to recommend a panel of 3 eminent educators for appointment of Vice Chancellor of Rani Chennamma University, Belgaum. He is a member of several expert committees, which include RUSA by the Karnataka State Higher Education Council, Bangalore, Governing Council member of Instrumental Society of India, IAC, for a period of 2 terms, Bangalore, the subject expert committee for the introduction of various state subjects at higher education level, executive committee member, Karnataka State Higher Education Council, Bangalore. Professor Sharanappa V. Halse, sir, as nominated as member of academic or research committee, Department of Higher Education, Government of Karnataka, to visit University of Salford, Manchester, United Kingdom, to participate and to prepare MOU, that is for training faculty and research orientation. When we approach him to inaugurate and pursue for this inaugural function, he wholeheartedly accepted our invitation, and now he is with us. On behalf of Department of Studies in Physics and all of you, I extend a warm welcome to Professor Sharanappa V. Halse. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, we have our Vice Chancellor of KSOU, Sharanappa V. Halse, sir. I request him to share his views.
Good afternoon to all. As you know, today, that is a creative of 100 creative we can talk. That is we welcome for this university. I think you know very well about our university. Our university already introduced by the Niranjan. Our university is the only one university in the state that providing the unreachable to reach. That is, we are having the 39, that is the courses from the, we have taken permission from the government UGC as well as UGC DEC. Now, what we want to say in this occasion, actually creative, we have the individual, everyone having the creative active mind, and here the Indian space, that is a human research, human space program. What I think, what I have understood about the ISRO as well as other members here participating in this program. Now we feel that we have to understand what is the situation, and in the especially in the ISRO. Now we have to work very hard. I think ISRO is very well known for the research R&D, and here what our younger generation, we have to think about the original thinking, original research. But everywhere we are not doing that. That original research is very important, and here we have to think about what activities we are doing in the for the society, and what actually ISRO is doing, what we are all the participants they are doing, and we have to serve the society. That is, serving the society is nothing but serving the humanity. That is, usually we can say that is serving the humankind is nothing but the serving the God. And here I can understand what we want to say about this program. Now all the assembled people, they have to understand how to use, they have to maintain their ideas in the society, and the society is actually nowadays fast growing society is there. How to live in the society, that is also very important. And what we are thinking about the society is very bad, society is like that, society like this is not the way. But we have to think about ourselves whether we are correct or not, and we have to be very careful about ourselves whether we are doing or not, whether we are actually, if you want to say society, then we have to think ourselves what we have, what we are, what we are doing for the society. And I think all the participants, they are very talented, and younger generations, I wanted to say for the younger generations, they have to use their mind for the progress of the life, their progress, and they have to think about actually what they have to do and what they have to think about our society. And nowadays, all the younger generations, and they are very talented, but they are not using their intelligence in the positive directions. They are using, they are making use of their time for the mobile. They are using 90% their time for the mobiles. They have to use the valuable 24 hours for their future. And I want to tell my younger generation, they have to be very careful about their future. And tomorrow I think Purnima is there, that Guru Purnima. Here what the Guru actually that we should have that is a goal, and to achieve the goal, the Guru should be there. And because of my Professor A.V. Kulkarni, I have achieved the degree, and I have done my PhD in the process control application, and I got this PhD because what I want to say is everyone has to think about our society as well as ourselves. Then only this will be helpful to the society. And I thought in this occasion, whatever our ISRO people are doing for the society and for our nation, they are doing wonderful research. And I have the contact, so many my friends are there, they are dedicated their life for the country purpose. And all research, especially process control applications, DC motor control, AC motor control, all that is very useful in the research in the ISRO, and especially sensors, actuators for the preparing the robotics and all the satellite communications. We know we have to tell what we have to tell. I don't know in this occasion, but whatever I want to tell, but I want to concentrate my younger generation. They have to be very careful about their future. They have to be very careful about their actually society. They have to be live with the society, younger society carefully and attentively. Thank you and all.
Thank you so much, Shri Professor Sharanappa VLC, sir. It's time to introduce our chief guest for today, Mr. R. Atal sir. To do this, I call Ms. Afreen, Creative Volunteer, to the stage.
A cheerful afternoon to one and all present here. I am Afreen, paying an immense pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Sri R. Hutton sir, the project director of ambitious project Gangayaan mission under the Human Space Flight Center of ISRO. He has graduated in the stream of mechanical engineering from TKM Engineering College, Kollam, Kerala in the year 1988. In the year 1990, he has joined VSS ISRO in the Polar Satellite Launch PSLV project. Considering his contribution to the PSLV program, he was assigned as Deputy Project Director, further as Associate Project Director and later Project Director PSLV in the year 2017. He was the Associate Vehicle Director for PSLV mission, including the prestigious PSLV C-25 Mangalyaan Mars orbital mission. He was the Vehicle Director for 11 PSLV missions, including PSLV C-37, which lifted successfully 104 satellites in a single go, and Mission Director for 6 PSLV missions for PSLV C-39 till PSLV C-44. He is the recipient of a Team Excellence Award and ISRO Merit Award, considering his significant contribution towards PSLV programs. I welcome you, sir, for today's Creative class. I welcome all members who are present here for today's section. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Afreen. Felicitation is inspiration to others and motivation for those who facilitate.
We have Mr. Har Atal among us who has inspired all of us. To facilitate Mr. Atal sir, I request Vice Chancellor KSOU Shri Sharanappa VLC sir on the stage.
The picture which was given to Sir Hutton was done by artist Ganga Sagar, and he is here in between us. Thank you. Now, It's time to felicitate the other eminent personality of today's program, Professor Sharanappa Vihalase, Vice Chancellor KSOU. I humbly request Mr. Hutton to do the honors. Thank you. We are glad and excited to invite Mr. R. Hutton on the stage for the talk.
ಬೇಕದು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಯಾಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಕೇಳಿಸುತ್ತೆ ಬೇಕಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಬೇಕಾರೆ ಅವರು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ ಪೇಪರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಈಗ ಬರೆಯಲ್ಲ ಇದು ಬರೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಅಕ್ಷರ ಇದು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ವಾಪಸ್ ಇಸ್ಕೊಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ನಿಮಗೂ ಬೇಕಾ
So good afternoon. Respected Vice Chancellor of Karnataka State Open University and CEO of Creactive, Madam Supriya, and my ex-colleagues are there and who are currently working also in ISRO. Many are there, Guru Prasad sir. If I start naming and the whole time will go in that, so I will not attempt that. And there are youngsters, there are different age group members are there. And the main audience, as it was mentioned earlier, the student community. That is what I think Supriya ma'am as well as KSU will be always targeting. You know, igniting the young minds, always we used to talk about that. Because today's students or today's the same community only are going to be the torchbearers of tomorrow to shape the nation, to our nation India, right? I think all of you are charged up. Yes. Many youngsters are there, but I am hearing from all not so young people, but then the teams of the Karnataka State Open University as well as the creative team for giving this kind of a platform, you know, where I could come and then share with you what we are I think hats off to the total teams who are involved in that. And I know some of my colleagues from Mistrack who are out here also, they are also strong supporters of this. And many veterans from ISRO have, I was just going through some of the biographs what you have shown, B.M. Suresh, Dr. B.M. Suresh, Dr. Kiran Kumar, and many others who have come here, and Madam also, Rupa Madam is also here. They have delivered excellent talks over here. The main idea is to not just to share what we are doing, but then to really kindle the thoughts in you, what we can do in the future. It is not that you have to do the same thing, but there are many things through which as Honorable Vice Chancellor also was telling, the fundamental research what you have to do in order, because the fundamental research is actually it is not that is happening in our country. So that is where in fact for that we need the economic support also, but then that is what the country is also doing. But that is very much essential if you are talking about basic science as well as the growth to which it can lead to. All right, so just we will move on to our topic today, Indian Human Space Mission. Normally, when we talk about this Indian space mission as such, we normally pray to our father of Indian space program as well, like our father of our nation, father of Indian space program, none other than Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. As you all definitely will be knowing about him. In fact, he only paved the way of creating this space technology in the country way back in 1960s, 1970s, almost 5 to 6 decades previously. And at that time, you all know that, after the World War, now in 1945 and so on, after the World War II was over, there were fights, who is number one in the world. When we talk about those superpowers are there, like USSR, anyway, they are no longer existing. After 1991, they also got disrupted into many different countries, like Russia and so many other countries. But then at that time, USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, USA, United States of America, all these people were fighting for who is number one, not in the ground warfare, which has been just concluded. We are talking about World War II in 1945. So after that, it was like a space race. Who is number one in technology? Who is number one in space? What kinds of technology that you are going to develop? That is what that was happening during the 1950s, 60s and all. And these two powers, USSR and USA, were there. In fact, what one is doing was not known to others. It was so secretly, especially USSR. They were doing so secretively during those days, and even it continued for many of the decades later. Now only they became open, and then many of the things are coming out as of now. And in those days, nothing was known. What are the research work they are doing? What kind of development they are doing, both in the ground warfare, when we talk about missile technology, or when we talk about the space technology, whether it is rockets, satellites, applications, and so on. So when these things were going on, one fine day, now in October 1957, on 4th of October, they had launched, which was the satellite Sputnik. The first time they have put the satellite in space in 1957, October 4th. So, and then later, of course, America also followed. So, these were the fights that was going on at that time when India also was putting its foundation stones for the space program in the country during the 1960s, 1962s. And at that time only, our Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, he said, we are not among those people who are actually fighting for one another, between one another, to know who is number one in the technology. We are not for that. But then we also have to do these kinds of space-related technologies we also need to build. What for? It is for the benefit of the common man. How space is going to benefit the common man? Space, where is space? Everywhere space is there. Where is space we talk about? Is it that, which is far off? No, just 100 kilometers above. Just from here to Bangalore itself is 150 kilometers. You do not have to travel that much distance vertically out. If you just travel more than 100 kilometers, it is space. So what is that which is differentiating space from atmosphere? We know our atmosphere, right? The different layers of atmosphere, troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, ionosphere, exosphere, like that. The different layers of atmospheres are there. And where is this space all about? Yeah, we talked about 100 kilometers. Who has defined that? Yeah, one German-American scientist called Karman. He defined that. And he said, something beyond 100 kilometers is space and something below 100 kilometers is atmosphere. It is only an imaginary line. There is nothing like that. You go vertically up 100 kilometers. Is there something which is separating space and atmosphere? Nothing like that. So it's only an imaginary line which is separating the space from the atmosphere. So all aeronautics, when you talk about air related, aircraft related, we talk about the atmosphere. Astronautics, when you talk about something which is going to outer space, like rockets, satellites, and so on. So this particular thing, so I was just telling about the benefits, how to read the benefits of space, which is beyond 100 kilometers. What are we going to do? By sitting there in space more than 100 kilometers, what is the benefit that your common man is going to get? This is a simple question or a doubt that, each and everyone. Today, you just take your mobile. If you want to go to some place, whether it is Gauri Bidanur or some other place far off, a remote village you want to go, you need not have to check with anybody on the way. You need not have to find out the way. You are having Google Maps. Okay, for Google Maps also we depend on somebody's satellites, your satellites. Whether we should have our own maps, whether we have our own satellites which can tell us the way to any place in India. Yes, recently one satellite was launched by India. The GSLV, which has happened on 29th of May this year from Sriharikota, NBS, made by URSC, Bangalore. So that is the navigation satellites. In fact, in the last 10 years, if you look at, there are more than 8 and 9 IRNSS, Indian Regional Navigation Satellites, have been launched by our own launch vehicle. When I say launch vehicle, what is launch vehicle? A vehicle which is used for launch, used for launching satellites. It's like a conventional vehicle, no? We travel in car, bus and all. We are the passengers. Like that, in a launch vehicle, in a rocket, the passenger is the satellite, correct? So it's like a satellite launch vehicle. So by these launch vehicles, IRNSS satellites have been injected into the orbit, and they are there in the orbit, in fact, looking at us back in India to provide the navigation solutions for all of us. In fact, that is going to come immediately in all our mobiles, these IRNSS receivers. Now we have GPS receivers. What do you think? Once these IRNSS receivers are put in the mobile, naturally you can log on. Instead of GPS, you can log on to our IRNSS satellites to know about your position. It is going to give you very accurate results, something like 5 to 10 meters. Any particular distance or any particular object you want to locate, it is within 10 meters resolution you are going to get it. It's not joke. Something which is sitting kilometers away, more than thousands of kilometers away, is telling you about an object which is only 10 meters away. Just imagine about the kind of accuracy that you are going to get from these kinds of satellites. So, like that, this is only one application. Like that, there are several applications which are there, which are going to benefit a very, very common man, like even farmers, the fisherman load, and other people also. So that is what the main objective, what Dr. Vikram Sarabhai envisaged during 6 decades before. In fact, that vision is really true even today. We are not to fight to anybody who are in advance today, whether it is Russia or China or any America or anybody like that. We are doing our own job, which is actually going to build the science foundation in the country and to trigger the younger minds here so that you can take it up forward to a very, very higher levels. Right? So in 1963, we started, and that was with a tiny rocket called sounding rocket. A sounding rocket, what is the difference between the sounding rocket and the conventional rocket? Even the term sounding itself is not to make sound. It is not that, but then it is something called measurement. What do you do? A rocket is going to vertically up, correct? You take off from the ground, it keeps on moving vertically up. And as it goes vertically up, it measures many things. What is there to measure? In the atmosphere, of course. There are atmospheric density, pressure, weighing pattern, moisture content. There are so many things to measure, to know about the atmosphere. So these sounding rockets are launched mainly for studying of the atmosphere, right? And there are many payloads. Payloads means it is a useful part of the system of a satellite which is used for measuring many things. So these are called payloads. So these payloads are being carried by the sounding rockets, small sounding rockets. So this was the launches which we have been making in the initial days, during the 1963, 65, 68 or even 70s time frame. So the first rocket, as you see here, the first rocket was Nike Apache. That was a rocket from America. But then they launched it from where? From India. From which place? A place called Tumba. Tumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station, which is the southernmost part of Kerala in Trivandrum. So from there, a launch vehicle took off, sounding rocket, and all the required ground support facilities, even including the telemetry. When we talk about telemetry, it is nothing but, when the rocket goes, it is like when you are going to a doctor, the doctor is measuring you. What is that he measures you? He gives a sphygmomanometer, right, to blood pressure. And similarly, blood he is taking to monitor many things. And heart rate he is measuring. Like that, many measurements he is doing of the body to know how your body functions. Similarly, when a rocket or a satellite goes, there are many parameters that you need to monitor. It can be pressure, it can be temperature, it can be vibration, it can be shock, it can be acceleration, or whatever kinds of measurements that it is going to do. So these measurements, once you are measuring in the rocket, how it is going to transmit it to the ground. Somebody in the ground in the computer is sitting there and he has to get all those measurements. So that is telemetry. So this is telemetry and he is monitoring the parameters in the ground to know about the health conditions of the rocket or of the satellite. So this is what has been doing in the initial days, that sounding rockets we talked about. But subsequently, ISRO grew with the designing, developing and realizing, integrating, testing and launching big launch vehicles. Starting from the SLVs during the 1970s, 79 to 83, 4 SLV launches were made, satellite launch vehicle. And who was the project director of the satellite launch vehicle? None other than our late President Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He was the project director. Satellite launch vehicle during 1979, 1980, 81, 83. 4 launches have been made. Of course, 3 were successful. And beyond that, we went to ASLV, Augmented Satellite Launch Vehicle. As the name suggests, it is an augmented satellite. That means regularly there is a satellite launch vehicle which can carry some payload, or a satellite which weighs about, say, 40-50 kilograms from Earth up to an altitude of 150 kilometers. Now you want to improve the capability of the launcher to carry heavier and heavier payloads. So what you need to do? You need to improve the lifting power of the rocket. So it is called augmented. So the satellite launch vehicle itself is augmented. What you see on the second one, 1987 to 1994. The difference is, you can see the same rocket SLV on the ASLV, but on the left and right there are small motors which are attached. They are called the strap-on motors. Motors means it is a solid propellant rocket. A solid rocket is called a motor, a liquid rocket is called an engine. The one which is always called a power plant. A plant, where the power is getting generated. So in a solid we call it as a motor. So there are 2 strap-on motors attached to the ASLV, that is the second one from left. And moving further, in fact, those 2 launch vehicles, SLV and ASLV, are no longer there. They are retired. Now, the PSLV, 1993, the maiden launch of PSLV. And we are going to have one more launch this month, in the month of July. That is PSLV C56. So we started with PSLV developmental flights. It is called Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. PSLV stands for Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle and D stands for development. So we had 3 flights under the development, D1, D2, D3. Starting with 1993 first launch, that was a failure. But all the launches subsequently up to PSLV C39 was successful. It was successful. And now up to PSLV C56 we have gone, right? That means initial 3 developments plus 55 flights, almost 58 missions or 57 missions have gone, in that only 2 failures. So it is called the workhorse launcher of the ISRO, the PSLV. Even today, it has almost carried more than 300 foreign satellites. Not only our Indian satellites, like which is built by our own, ISRO organization. That is, URL Satellite Center is building all the satellites like remote sensing satellites, or even communication satellites, weather forecasting, navigation satellites, disaster warning, education satellites, like that. Different kinds of satellites are being built in the country, and these are also launched. Some of these are launched by PSLV, which are all meant for the remote sensing purpose. Let us come to this. What is the difference between PSLV and GSLV? What is the difference between remote sensing and geo? Alright? So PSLV was doing that. Apart from that, only I was mentioning that more than 300 kinds of satellites which it has launched for foreign nations. More than 30 countries have taken the service of the PSLV of our nation. Just we have to be proud of that. Moving further, and that particular launch vehicle is still continuing. That's why that era mark is put. 1993 is still continuing without any problem. And we have the 2001 onwards GSLV. GSLV was initially called Mark II. Now it is simply named as GSLV. That, as the name suggests, it is geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle. What does it mean? It only means that it takes the satellite from the ground and put it in the geosynchronous orbit. What is the geosynchronous orbit? All of you know what is Earth, of course. You know equatorial, equator, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, Arctic Circle, Antarctic Circle, everything you know. And you know the poles also, right? North Pole and South Pole. So once you take off from the land, you go vertically up. Is the rocket keeps on vertically moving up? It initially moves vertically up and afterwards it turns. When it turns, it is called pitching. It is moving down. It is not for coming back. Of course, it is moving down. Finally, the path has to be made tangential to the circumference of the Earth. Because ultimately, if Earth is there, this fellow has to go around the Earth. So when a satellite is moving around the Earth, the path traced by the satellite around the Earth, that is called orbit. So when we talk about orbit, it only means that it is the path of the satellite which is moving around the Earth. So when the satellite is put in around the poles, North Pole to South Pole, that orbit is called polar orbit. So PSLV, as the name suggests, it takes the satellites to polar orbit, means north-south. It is moving north-south. Whereas GSLV takes the satellite to geosynchronous. It is almost in plane, the equatorial plane. It is parallel to the plane of the equator. You just imagine that it is going around the equator. So what is these two kinds, polar satellite and equatorial satellite are talked about? In fact, for all the remote sensing purpose, you need to go to the poles. Why? Why? Because Earth, that it is moving in a day, 24 hours, it is making one day, and in 365 days, it is making one revolution. So once the satellite is moving around the poles, we know that the Earth is moving east to west. So what will happen when the satellite moves around the poles and then comes back to the same point? By that time, the Earth would have rotated. How much the Earth would have rotated? We know in 24 hours it makes 360 degrees. So how much time that the satellite takes for making one full revolution around the Earth? Only 90 minutes. 1.5 hours. In 1.5 hours, the satellite from one point, say it is at North Pole, it is moving to the South Pole, then coming back to the North Pole, 90 minutes, 1.5 hours. That means in a day, almost 16 orbits it can make. So every orbit that it makes, the Earth is also rotating by some degrees. We know 24 hours, 360 degrees, so 15 degrees per hour, it is moving. So when it is moving, when the satellite is moving, also every time the satellite, when it makes one full revolution, it is not going to see the same point of the Earth. So because the Earth also rotating, so it keeps on seeing different points of the Earth. That is called mapping. So by being there at an orbit of something like 500 to 600 kilometers and looking down, when you move around the poles and come back, you are not going to see the same place, Mysuru Kaveri Auditorium now. And after 1.5 hours, when it comes back, Kaveri Auditorium would have moved away by 15 degrees, and some other thing on the western side of the country you will be seeing. Like that, it moves westwards, so it can map the whole globe. That is called the remote sensing. Being there remotely, sensing the Earth. What does it do? Agriculture, mapping, land deforestation, so many things, it can. These are all the common things which normally these types of remote sensing satellites does. Whereas geosynchronous, yes, it is in the equatorial plane. Why does it goes in the equatorial plane? And we know that equatorial planes, the satellites are meant for what? They are meant for communication purpose. We know that for doing a communication, when two people are moving, for doing a communication, both have to move at the same speed, right? When one fellow is moving fast, other fellow is lagging behind, you can't do a communication properly. They have to move at the same speed. Similar way, when a satellite is positioned in an orbit, the satellite, if it has to communicate with the Earth, with somebody in the Earth, both should move at the same speed. We know Earth is rotating. It is moving around the Sun also, as well as it is rotating about its own axis. So when the Earth is rotating, the satellite also should go at the same angular speed as that of the Earth. So that when you look from here to the satellite, it appears stationary, because both are moving at the same speed. So at a distance of 36,000 kilometers, these geosynchronous satellites, they are moving around the Earth at an altitude of 36,000 kilometers from the surface of the Earth. We know radius of Earth is 6,000 plus kilometers. We are talking about from the surface of the Earth, 36,000 kilometers away. So at that altitude, the speed of the satellite is something like almost 3 kilometers per second. So when it is moving at that speed, that angular speed and the Earth's rotational speed both are matching. So what does it mean? It means that the object will look like stationary. The satellite will look like stationary. So such satellites can be used for communication purpose. Who has told this? Somebody like Arthur Clarke, he has told this long back. So that's why it's called Clarke orbit. So he devised saying when you go to 36,000 kilometers, if you go at this speed, you will go at the same speed of the Earth, then you can do communication. And if you can position 3 satellites 120 degrees apart, you can have the full globe coverage. So with the 3 satellites positioned at 36,000 kilometers 120 degrees apart, the whole of the Earth can be captured, or in the sense communication is possible. So this is a simple thing he has devised, and so all the geosynchronous satellites are going to that orbit. So this is the GSLV, and in the GSLV itself we have one more thing called the LVM3, Launch Vehicle Mark 3, which is otherwise called a Fat Boy. Out of the rockets, that is the one which is fatter or fattest. So it's called Fat Boy. In fact, that is the launcher which we are now taking for what purpose? Gaganyaan. Yes, Chandrayaan is that is going to do. But then This is the rocket. Today, our topic is about human space mission. Which is the rocket which is going to carry the humans to orbit? That is the LVM-3, Launch Vehicle Mark III. In fact, it has made 6 successful missions so far. Starting from 2014, it was an experimental mission. Subsequently, 2017, 18, and even recently in the month of February this year, we had a OneWeb launch. You would have seen in the televisions as well as in the news channels. OneWeb. The satellites have been successfully launched. 2 such missions were done by this. And the farthest right is the SSLV, Small Satellite Launch Vehicle. This is, as the name suggests, it is a small satellite launch vehicle. Not that the launch vehicle is small. It is for carrying small satellites like 500 kg or 300 kg to 500 kg to 500 kilometer LEO orbit. It can, so that it is a cost saving. See, we need not have to. Why these different kinds of launch vehicles are for different applications. Different kinds of payloads you want to carry. You need not have to spend the heaviest payload for carrying a smallest payload. So accordingly, it is tuned, and it has got a big demand also by elsewhere in the world. So these are the orbits. Already we discussed about the polar orbit as well as the equatorial orbit. Correct? Polar orbit is nothing but going around the poles. Equatorial orbit is parallel to the equatorial plane. And there are different other kinds of orbit, what you see there, which is shown, different red, green, blue, yellow, all inclined orbits. When we say inclined means, with respect to what inclined? With respect to the equatorial plane. You take equatorial plane, if it is parallel to equatorial plane, it is 0 degree. It is 90 degree, it is polar. So like that, with the different inclinations, depending upon the applications of the satellite, you put the satellite in different inclined orbit. Inclined, the path. That depends upon from which country it is going to take off and for what application the satellite is going to do the service. Depending upon that, the inclination will be decided. Alright, so the satellite applications also we have seen. Remote sensing, mainly going to the polar orbit, carrying out by standing there, by being there, remotely sensing the earth, looking at the earth, the ground. Today when I was going, there was a good vegetation here. Tomorrow when I make the repeat orbit, when I come, there is no vegetation there. Somebody has already removed the vegetation part of it. And there was a good soil near the riverbed. And after a few weeks when I came back there, I am not seeing any soil there. Soil erosion has happened. Deforestation has happened. So all these mapping you can do, town planning you can do. In a Mysore, of course, it is all there, good. But there are some places where you want to do a good town planning. You take imagery, a photograph of that particular land, and then you can plan it what way. Because satellite pictures are very, very important. It is not that you go in the helicopter or an aircraft, take the pictures. Satellite pictures are going to cover a large spectrum of the area, and you can very nicely plan over square kilometers. So these kinds of applications are there for remote sensing. Similar way for the communications already we talked about, not only for the television broadcasting, telecommunications. You take your phone, ring somebody up, your friend or your brother, sister, parent, somebody who is there in America. Within 1 second you are getting connectivity, right? And how it is happening? When you dial, it is going. The signal is going to the communication satellite. Where it is? It is at 30,000 kilometers away. That satellite picks up your signal and it is beaming back the signal back to America somewhere in the ground station. So 30,000 kilometers up, 30,000 kilometers down, 72,000 kilometers. It travels at the speed of light. Electromagnetic waves travels at the speed of light, which is something like 3 lakh kilometers per second. Just imagine, for this 72,000, how many milliseconds it has to take? Less than half a second. So when you talk, you get a small delay, right? Because of this 72,000 up and down, or 72 plus 72, because he has to communicate back. 1.4 lakh kilometers, almost like less than half a second delay will be there when you say hello to the other man. You will get an half a second delay. That is only to America. Think about, you are going to moon, you are going to Mars, which is not this kilometer. Moon is 4 lakh kilometers away. Even for a light ray, it will take 1 plus second to reach there. What about Mars? Mars is 20 crore kilometers away. In fact, the Mars orbit, which is going around the Earth, going around the Sun, going around the Sun, these are planets, and Mars we say that is the nearest planet. But nearest planet is 20 crore kilometers away. And then, it is not the same distance. See, Earth takes about 365 days, we know 1 year. What about Mars? How much time it will take for the Mars to make one full revolution around the Sun? Yes, very good. So almost near 680 days it makes. 2 years, something like Earth year is something near to 2 years. So that is the kind of, so you can imagine that when Earth and Mars are nearby, when they start, now you start, both of them start moving around the Sun. Earth would have made one full revolution, by that time Mars would have made only half the revolution. Correct? So Earth is on one side of the Sun and Mars is on the other side. You see the distance now? From Sun to Earth itself, it is called astronomical unit. Because it is such a long distance that you can't count in, simple kilometers, thousands and thousands, lakhs and all. It is crores and crores kilometers. So we term it as astronomical unit. One astronomical unit is something like a distance between Sun to Earth, which is almost like 14.5 kilometers away. So we talk about this astronomical unit. So this astronomical unit, now when the Mars goes the other side, you just imagine that this 14.5 and the other side another more than that, almost like 30 crore kilometers. That means totally summing up to much more than 50, 60 crore kilometers away, or even near to 100 kilometers, 100 crore kilometers away. So such a long distance. So that means when you want to go to Mars, I'm telling you, younger generation, your boys, tomorrow you may, or girls, you may be going to Mars. If you want to go to Mars, you just find out a time suitable for you to travel from Earth to Mars. Which is a suitable time? The Mars has to come closer to you. If the Mars is on the opposite side of the Sun, then you have to travel all the way there. There won't be any energy in the rocket to carry you up to Mars. Before that itself, you will be dying out. So, Mars has to be nearby when you start. So that's why, as we said, when Earth makes one full revolution, Mars will be half. Or when Mars makes one full revolution, how many times Earth would have rotated? 2 times. So that means, once in 2 years, these two fellows will come closer to each other, Earth and Mars. So that is the time. So once in 2 years, you have the chance of starting from Earth to Mars. So it's something like 18 to 19 months. That's why the slot at which you are going to initiate the program to go to Mars, it is not that everyday opportunity. If you miss this slot now, you have to wait for after 18 months to get the slot, because the Mars would have gone away and it has to come near to Earth. You have to wait for 18 to 20 months. Almost 1.5 to 2 years. So that is the slot we got in 2013 in November 5 when we initiated the Mangalyaan program, the Mars orbiter mission. We were just discussing on that. So here we talked about the communication satellite, navigation also we talked about, and the bottom right, you see there are so many blocks are shown. They are all nothing but Chandrayaan mission, Mangalyaan mission. Chandrayaan mission way back in 2008 it was done. Chandrayaan 1 mission, October 2nd by BSLV. And Mangalyaan mission, as we have told just now, 2013. And similarly Chandrayaan 2 in 2019, and we are going to have the Chandrayaan 3 now in this month, July, it is going to take place. So these are the other things which we have. So, this is the Chandrayaan already we talked about in the year 2008. It was very, very successful, and the PSLV has carried the Chandrayaan payload to different, their various orbits around the Earth, and then it has made its move towards the Moon. That is called from Earth to Moon it is going. Moon is always called lunar, right? So translunar. You are traveling from Earth orbit to the lunar orbit. Translunar. You are on the way to the Moon. Translunar orbit, there also, you are now going from Earth, you are going to be captured by another what is called that satellite or planet? Moon, our natural satellite. And Moon has got gravity, right? Moon has got, how much is the gravity of Moon compared to Earth? 1/6, yes. So if I am weighing 60 kilogram, what is my weight on the surface of Moon? It's only 10 kilogram, 60/6, 10 kilogram. So who are all heavier, don't worry, you just go to Moon, your weight will be coming down by 1/6. Similarly in Mars, is almost 1/3 of the gravity, correct? So, the Moon. So the important thing is that, when some satellite is moving around the Earth, how does the satellite is keeping its position around the Earth? Why it is not falling back on Earth, or why it is not moving away from the Earth? That is the precise velocity. The velocity at which the satellite is injected in the orbit, which is called orbital velocity. That is very important. If the orbital velocity is less or is more, if it is less, it will be pulled by the gravity of Earth. So it will have a crash land on Earth, because gravity forces. Gravity is there, no, I put this up and come down, gravity. So the same gravity is acting upon there, even lakhs of kilometers away. So it will just pull it down. If the velocity is more, what will happen? It will move away from the gravitational force of the Earth, escape. So when you are moving from Earth to Moon, or even Earth to Mars, it is very important that if you want to circle around that particular satellite or particular planet, you have to do a precise computation of the velocity at which you are going to go around the Moon or going around the Mars. That velocity computation is very critical, and not only that, how very effectively you are going to achieve the velocity on the satellite. Think about something which is almost 20 crore kilometers away or near to the Mars. You have to control. Is it possible? We talked about going to Moon, which is 4 lakh kilometers, more than 1.2 seconds it takes. But Mars, which is nearby 20 crore kilometer, it takes for even a light ray to reach there 12 minutes. A light ray traveling at 3 lakh kilometers per second takes about 12 minutes to reach the surface of the Mars. And to get the hello back, you have to wait for another 12 minutes. 12 plus 12, 24 minutes. When somebody is going to Mars, you want to make a hello, you will get it back after 24 minutes. So this is a kind of time delay we are talking about that. There is no telecommanding you can do from here to control the satellite. It has to be autonomous. It has to be, the intelligence has to be built inside the satellite itself so that it will do the correct maneuvering and things like that. So coming back onto this, how the satellite is going to keep its path around the orbit is by very precise calculation, something called orbital velocity, which is almost equal to that. It has to match the gravitational pull. How does it, see, it is like a stone you take and tie at the end of a string and move around. Correct? So when I am putting a stone and then moving around, what is the force which I am pulling the stone? My pull force is there, something like a gravitational force of the earth. What is the other velocity that the stone is having? Something like a centrifugal force. It is trying to go out. If the string is cut, it will go in a path tangential to that of the circle, right? We know that. So these two forces, gravitational force as well as the centripetal force, these are only balanced. So by giving a correct velocity, the centrifugal of the centrifugal force becomes equal to that of the gravitational pull, so that this object will be moving perfectly around a planet or an Earth. So that is how it is kept around the thing. So this velocity is very important for an orbital velocity. If you are going to go to 400 kilometers or 800 kilometers, this orbital velocity is something like 7.4 kilometers per second. Imagine, 1 second it is moving at a velocity of 7.4 kilometers. So from here to Bangalore, 140 kilometers, 140 divided by 7, only 20 seconds it will take for the rocket to go. Would you like to? So even expressway has come to reduce the time to 2 hours, but we are talking about 20 seconds. Just go and come back. So that is the kind of velocity with which the rocket is moving. So we can't, just simply tell about 7.4, 7.5. We talk about in terms of a number or a unit called Mach number. He is again a scientist, Mach number. It is nothing but, the sound velocity, comparison of a sound velocity. When I am talking from here, the sound is reaching to you at a velocity of 340 meters per second. In 1 second it travels 340 meters. So it makes only a few milliseconds to reach the sound from me to you. So when an object is moving at the speed of sound, it is called sonic velocity. That is called Mach 1. When an object is moving less than the speed of sound, it is subsonic, and if it is greater than the speed of sound, supersonic. We talk about something like 25 times the speed of sound. It is not supersonic, it is going to be hypersonic, beyond Mach 5 and things like that. Mach 25 we talked about. 25 times the speed of sound. Just imagine that. 340 meters per second is one side, the sound, whereas the other one is 7,400 meters in 1 second, 7.4 kilometers per second. So this is the kind of speed at which it is going to travel. Okay, so that is the orbital velocity. Then only this, by precisely, what I am coming back is that how to maintain the orbital velocity, exactly the gravitational pull as well as the centrifugal force we need to match to get it that. Alright, so Chandrayaan, that is the importance of that. When the Chandrayaan payload is going towards the moon is going to start pulling it towards it. So the moon's gravitational force as well as the orbital velocity around the moon has to be precisely computed so that it is neither going to crash land on the surface of the moon nor it is going to escape from the moon. So it has to be very precise. So that is a very precise maneuver that has been done to be captured by the moon on November, when it started on 22nd October 2008, almost a few days later it has reached around the moon, and exactly on November 14th, 2008, Children's Day. What it did? There was a payload called Moon Impact Probe. As the name suggests, Moon Impact Probe, a probe which is going to impact on the surface of the moon. It's only a 30 kilogram. Idea was Dr. Abdul Kalam's idea was that we need to paint our Indian flag also on one side of this cuboid kind of a moon impact probe. So that moon impact probe has severed from the mother satellite, the main Chandrayaan payload. From there it got separated at an altitude of 100 kilometers, because 100 kilometers it is moving around the moon, and from there this moon impact probe got separated and it has gone towards the surface of the moon. And that was a crash landing. It was not a soft landing as what we are going to attempt now. That was a hard landing or a crash landing. But our attempt was to put our object on the surface of the moon. That has successfully happened on 14th of November in 2008, Chandrayaan. Similarly, Mangalyaan, yes, madam is here, I won't talk about more on that. This mission also, we did in November 5, 2013, and later, almost 10 months later, in September 2014, the Mars orbiter has reached near to the Mars orbit. Something like 500 kilometers by 80,000 kilometers it has reached. Just imagine, it has taken almost 10 months to reach around the Mars. You are traveling. When you are traveling towards Mars tomorrow, you have to be patient enough because it is going to take almost 10 months even at that velocity to reach on the surface of the Mars. Right? Alright. So this mission also was successful, and here again, as you see on the right side, the Mars, once the Mars orbiter gone around the Mars, it was precisely, the velocity was precisely done such that it was captured by the gravitational pull of the Mars. As we said, Mars has got 1/3 of the gravity, so it has captured, so that it has gone around the Mars. It didn't go directly and crash landed on the Mars. If the velocity was too less, it would have crash landed. If the velocity was slightly high, it would have gone away from the Mars. So that precise computation was done, and it was uploaded well before, and exactly at the appointed time, that particular engines came into life, and then it maneuvered the Mongolian, what is called that MOM, Mars orbiter, such that to give the precise velocity, so that it was really captured by Mars. So it was the first attempt itself, it was a successful attempt. And this is where, the whole world applauded India for achieving even its first attempt itself. Neither Russians nor Americans or any other country has made successful attempt in the first attempt itself. Successful mission didn't have, but India did it. Of course, close to all those team who have done, with of course the support from all the ISRO as well as other agencies. Yes, so today, if you look at the bottom line, is the launch vehicles, different kinds of launch vehicles, we are self-reliant. India is self-reliant with respect to designing, conceiving, designing, as well as realizing, putting it together, called integrating, testing, and then launching, different kinds of launch vehicles. Similarly, on the top line, the various kinds of satellites. We have talked about it, remote sensing, communication, weather forecasting, educational, whatever it is, navigation, disaster warning, tsunami warning also we are talking about, right? And then we also talked about Chandrayaan, Mongolian, all these things also we are talking about. What is the one thing which is missing out now? You have to demonstrate your capability of taking a live payload. So far you have been taking a payload which is not live. So a live payload to orbit and then leave it there. Are you happy? No. No. We have to come back. You want to see your parents, right? Or children, wife, husband, right? So you want to come back. So the challenge is that you have to carry a human, whether it could be a boy or a girl, and then take them as live as they were, and then go to the orbit and come back very safely. So there is a great challenge there. These challenges we will see. What is that big in doing this particular thing? Is it so big thing that Americans have done almost in 1960s, 69 they have gone to even moon, and Russians have done, Chinese are doing, only 3 countries in the world they have done. If we are doing, we only become the 4th country. So you just imagine more than 200 countries are there, but we are talking about only 2, 3 kind of a thing. So where is the position of India? Just imagine that in this space technology. So here is where the human space flight comes. So it is, human space flight, simple term is what? Carrying humans to space and then come. Where is this space? Beyond atmosphere. That's what we talked about, no? Beyond 100 kilometer space. So just go there and come. What is the difference between space and atmosphere? Yeah, as we said, space is somewhere beyond 100 kilometers and nothing is there. Atmosphere is there. Can you inhale like this? Nothing is there. And we are all very fortunate, right, in Earth. We have solar energy, but then we are getting electromagnetic radiation, what is not harmful to us only. The Mother Earth, the atmosphere is guarding us. Whereas if you go out of atmosphere into space, that guarding is not there. All kinds of electromagnetic radiations are going, you are going to face that. Whether it is microwave, infrared rays, gamma rays, X-rays, visible light or whatever it is, whatever you talk about, all kinds of radiations you are going to get that. So your body is not going to withstand even a minute speckle of the time. If you are going to stand outside of the space, it is not possible. So there is no atmosphere for you to freely inhale oxygen, very freely available here. When COVID came, only all of us, we were gasping for oxygen, correct? Good oxygen. But then, the thing is very, that is why space is the final frontier for all exploration. We do exploration on ground, right? We take our leave travel concession and then go around the places around India or even abroad, who can afford to it. To explore the land, to see the people, to see the varied culture of the people, how they are living, what is the food, what are the culture, festivals and so on, to understand that we do exploration. But then, You want to do real exploration, you have to go and explore the space. You go up, up, up. Is there anything which is going to stop you there? Universe. We talk about Milky Way. And beyond Milky Way, there are several thousands of Milky Ways are there. We know only our solar system, Milky Way, correct? And there are several other things. So, if you just start imagining about the universe, you are not going to end anywhere there. So, that is a vast expanse of the universe, and that is where we call space is a final frontier for all kinds of exploration. And space also is very hostile. It is not that it is going to very conducive like Earth. The Earth gives you atmosphere, water is there, plenty, food is available, everything is there. But when you go to space, nothing will be available. Everything you have to cultivate, you have to regenerate, or you have to take with you from Earth to live on there. But future, when you are going to talk about making colonies and all in Moon or Mars, we need to think about cultivating plants and all there. You can't carry huge amount of oxygen, huge amount of food, huge amount of water and all in a rocket and then be happy in the Moon and Mars. You need to start thinking about doing. That is where the fundamental research is also very, very important. In a place where there is no atmosphere, in a place where there is no water, or we say water ice and so many things are there, how you are going to? Yes, of course you can do. The Earth was like that once upon a time. But today we are seeing this big auditorium, so many gadgets are there. From the soil only it has come, right? So you need to only discover how you can make it. It is very much possible. So, this is what we are now going to talk about. And people did it. Yes, in 1957, in October 4, the first Sputnik has gone. And a live object was taken to orbit. When? In the same year, 1957. In the month of November. A dog called Laika. It was a Russian dog, a street dog, that was trained to go to space. What is the training? See, when you go up, you are going up, and then finally you are going to, as we said, you are going to pitch down. Pitch down means you are going to turn it. You are going to vertically up, then you are going to slowly turning it, make it go around the earth. So when you go around the earth, we say it is zero gravity. Is it really zero gravity? Because you are only at 400 kilometers away from the earth. Gravity is there. Gravity is very much there. Otherwise, moon, which is 4 lakh kilometers away, how it is moving around the earth? Gravity is there. So there is a sphere of influence of Earth's gravity. It may be 5 lakh kilometers or 8 lakh kilometers. Beyond that, the Earth's gravity will be, the magnitude will come down. So beyond the point, the gravity will no longer be there for the Earth. But some other planets' gravity will start acting upon. Correct? And we are all there in the gravity of Sun. So each one of us are held in a spherical fashion, in a moving around the Sun. So that is also the gravitational pull of the Sun. Solar system, the whole planets, 8 planets are moving around the Sun. So that is the gravitational pull. So, when we say zero gravity, does it mean that really there is a zero gravity? What do you mean by that? See, when an object is moving around the Earth, it is continuously falling. It is continuously falling towards the Earth. But then it is moving around the circle. So when it is continuously falling, you will have a sensation of zero gravity. Means, now when you are sitting in your seat, you feel a pressure on your back. When I am standing here, I feel a weight on my body. Because the Earth is resisting. It is supporting you. So I feel my body weight is supported by the Earth because of the gravitational pull. After some time I feel some pain on the back, I would like to sit. Or who are sitting, they feel some uneasiness, they would like to stand up and then straighten their back. So that is because of the gravitational pull. But when you are continuously falling, there is nothing which is going to resist you. It is like in a lift. When you are climbing, say some 30 or 40 floors high, when a building, multi-story building, a very fast moving lift is there, which is moving at say 2 meters per second. When you just get into the lift and then start moving down, immediately for a few moments, you will have a sensation of weightlessness. Even a giant wheel, which our circus people know, used to put it in the ground and all. Those who have gone in the giant wheel, when you go up and then come down, everybody will start shouting. The shouting is coming from within us, unknowingly. We need to shout also. Otherwise, that kind of a feeling, you want to shut it out. So that is the sense of that microgravity or a gravity lessness. So it is only a momentary thing what we feel here. But in space, you are going to have a continuous such kind of a feeling. So it is like a microgravity or a sensation of no gravity, sensation of no weight. So really there is a gravity, but you are continuously moving around, so you don't feel the sensation of gravity. So what is the problem? When you don't have the gravity at all, you can't imagine, right? When people are going to orbit, they feel these kinds of microgravity. What are the problems? Did you ever imagine? When there is no gravity, when there is no weight pulling us down, all our organs and all, they are all supported, right? Heart, lungs, stomach, everything is supported. Everything will have a sensation of no weight. So something, happening in my body, you will be perplexed. Your eyes, face, everything will swell. Because, of course, there is another phenomenon also is there. So these things, will create a sensation of called space motion sickness. It will create. You don't know where you are. A kind of, a momentary motion sickness it is called. So these kinds of things and all will happen. There are several other things which will happen because of travel to space. It is only one such thing what we talked about this microgravity. So this dog was straight and it has gone there, but after a few orbits around the earth, unfortunately, because some issue in the capsule in which the dog was placed and moving around the earth, and this was sent by Russians during that time, USSR. Due to some problem, the cabin, like here, the auditorium, if the temperature picks up, you all feel uneasiness, right? We use fans, ACs and all. But there is nothing, even some issue has happened, the cabin temperature was rising and dog could not survive. It died. Alright, so that was the live thing which was carried. And in 1961, April 12, very surprisingly, our Yuri Gagarin traveled from the soil of USSR. So till then, if you look at, all the number one was backed by whom? USSR. The first satellite, 1957, October 4. The first animal, Laika, in November 1957. The first man to space, Yuri Gagarin, in 1967. All number ones were made by USSR. So I talked about space race, USSR and USA. So USA was restless. All the number ones they are bagging. What is that he can do? John F. Kennedy, the then president, USA, he made an announcement. Before the decade ends, which decade? 1960s, 70s. Before the decade ends, before 1970, an American must travel in an American vehicle from the American soil to the surface of moon and then come back. Not for just orbit what the Yuri Gagarin made, which is only a few hundred kilometers away there. Moon, he looked at moon. That was the kind of vision he had. In next 10 years, before the end of that decade, it has happened. It has happened. 1969, we all know, June 20th. Yes, Neil Armstrong in a powerful rocket called Saturn, in a module called Apollo, right? Apollo. So they have traveled, 3 people traveled. Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin, and Michael Collins. They traveled successfully. In fact, they were traveling and then they were not knowing that they are going to come back. They are traveling where? 4 lakh kilometers away in a vehicle, in a powerful rocket called a Saturn V, which has taken Apollo. The Saturn V is not going to go to moon. It is going to inject Apollo in an orbit around the Earth. After that, using the propulsion system of the propulsion means it is a device like an engine in an automobile. It is a device which will power the craft from Earth orbit towards the lunar orbit, moon's orbit. So it has moved to that on the surface of the moon, and precisely they landed on the moon surface. And always there was a doubt whether they can come back, because if the Apollo engine didn't start igniting back, they can't come back. So they had one slip in their pocket. What is that slip? If they fail to take off from the surface of the moon and then come back, they are going to perish on the surface of the moon. So they have to just read it out. What for they came? To explore the surface of the moon. What kind of technology, what kind of innovativeness that it has created, that it is going to create in the spirits of the young generations during that time. So they have to read it out. So that was there in that hand, because they are the kind of such strong-hearted people whom they very well know that if they make a trip, they may not come back. So that kind of a thing. So when he has stepped down from the Apollo craft to the surface of the soil, the famous terminologies are there, right? A small step for a man, but a big leap for the humankind. It was only a small step from Apollo to the surface of the moon, but there was a big leap for the whole mankind, right? And fortunately, the Apollo engine started and they came back also. And subsequently, many people, even more than 12 people have gone to the surface of the moon in the same vehicle, similar vehicle called Saturn in Apollo. Up to 1972, that program also was there. Okay, this is what we talked about. And, it is not only this going to orbit and then coming back. Now we are talking about space station also. See, people, ISS, right? International Space Station. It is there from the year 1999 or 2000 and still continuing. Last 20 years, 22 years, it is continuing there. But before that, the first station was Salyut. Soviet Salyut was there in 1971. So it was there in the orbit almost for 6 months, and it got deorbited. Because of some problem, the Salute got deorbited, it came back, it burned out in the atmosphere, but then they launched it. So the Salute 1, Salute 2, Salute 3, so it was there in the program for 15 years, up to 1986. And subsequently, they had the Mir station, you might have heard about, who are in the mid-generation, no? You would have heard about the Mir space station belonging to Russians. From 1986 to 2001, 15 years it was there. Other one was from 1971 to 1986, 15 years, Salute. So after that, Mir station from 1986 to 2001. And meanwhile, Americans had the Skylab 1973 to 79, and Skylab also finally it could not remain in the orbit in 1979 due to some issues. It had to come back, and I remember at that time I was almost like 12, 13 years old, and the people were talking about where it is going to impact. But those days there is no television, nothing is there, only in paper and radio news only. So people talked about Skylab. Of course, we are in schools only. We may not know much about it, but still something from the space is going to come and hit somewhere. We don't know where it is going to fall. Finally, it has fallen in an ocean only. Of course, the phrases, once it enters the atmosphere, it becomes fragments because of the fiery velocity at which it is coming back. Because of the fiery friction between the object and the atmosphere, it heats up and becomes fragments, and the fragments will come back and land on the surface of the earth, right? So Skylab, it was there for almost 6 years. And similarly, the space station, of course, it is still continuing. There are 6 to 7 people still, they are there. Right from 2000 onwards, it is occupied. Either Americans or Russians, these are the 2 people. And some people from Japan or even Saudis also has gone. Okay, so these things, that is there in the orbit. And the right side, what you see is the Chinese space station. It is called Tiangong. Tiangong is a Chinese space station. So we have seen Russian space station, Salyut, Mir, American, Skylab, and of course International Space Station, and then this is the, what is called the Tiangong, Chinese Space Station. So whether we should have our own space station? Indian space station is also required, no? First we will make a Gaganyaan to just show how it is possible to take humans to orbit and then come back. Beyond that it may have. So now, these are the various other programs, like what you see, these are all the different capsules which are currently doing the human space mission. The extreme left is the New Shepard. That is actually, the Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos. Blue Origin, and the Amazon founder, his vehicle called the New Shepard. It is actually the Alan Shepard. Like Yuri Gagarin, the first person from USSR gone to space, Alan Shepard is the first American who has gone to space. So in his name, this vehicle is put called Shepard. And this Shepard carries the Blue Origin at the top. That is the left side, you see New Shepard. At the top you have got a Blue Origin. That is the capsule in which the passengers go. They have made a mission. Similarly, right side, you have the Soyuz, Russian. Below that, Spaceship 2. That is actually belonging to Virgin Galactic. Virgin, like a space plane. It goes, it makes suborbital. Orbital and suborbital. Orbital means you will not have an orbital velocity. When you go to orbit, if you are going around the orbit, if your velocity is available for you to go around the orbit, you will call the orbital flight. Otherwise, you just go and then come back. It is suborbital. We are just going at the edge of the atmosphere, 100 kilometers, and then you are coming back. It is suborbital. So some flights are suborbital. It is for space tourism, You want to have a vision of the earth, go to 100 kilometers, have the sense of microgravity, and then come back. So you can say, I have touched the space and then came back. So it is like a suborbital flight. So these flights are suborbital. And we have the Shenzhou, of course the Chinese, the right side top and the right side bottom is the Crew Dragon. That is the American, the SpaceX. Elon Musk, you know that, no? Elon Musk, SpaceX. So that is the SpaceX rocket which is taking the Crew Dragon. Like our Gaganyaan. Gaganyaan is the name of the crew capsule, like that. Dragon is the name of the crew capsule belonging to SpaceX. So these are only some of the or the current, the capsules which are carrying humans to orbit and then come back. So this is in near future. Artemis, you might have heard about Artemis program. Again, NASA wants to go to moon. Way back in 1969, they have gone in Saturn. Now they are trying to go to moon, build a station there, and from there go to Mars. So that is the aim. So for that only this Artemis program is there. In fact, in the last November 2022, they made a mission, uncrewed mission. So in the rocket, they carried a module called Orion. Orion module at the top of the rocket. What you see is the rocket and gone to moon. They fly by. It is called flyby, means go around the moon and then come back. That was done successfully. November they gone, December they came back. After almost 25 days, they came back successfully. And that is one uncrewed. No crew was there. Now they are also planning with crewed flight, maybe next year or a year later. So they will go to moon, and later they are going to build a camp there on the surface of the moon. Not for staying for 1 or 2 days, even for a few months. To make a base camp there. And then from there try to go to Mars. It is not that easy. But you have to have a base camp. So go to the moon as an intermediate platform. Be there. If you can refuel it, fuel it, and then start your journey from moon to Mars and then come back. Alright. So why man the space program? I am not going to read all these things. But only I will tell you one thing, that whatever is put like so many technological advancements, many things are there. In fact, by going for human space mission or for such kind of space technology, what we are going to reap, there are many technological developments happening within the country. Because when you are going to talk about a technology which needs to be built for building a satellite or for a launch vehicle, it is not the conventional systems what is needed. It is the state-of-the-art technology when you talk about. Be it with respect to the materials, be it with respect to the manufacturing process, be it with respect to the components, electronic components what you are using, the chips, the processors, and so on. So these kinds of state-of-the-art technology is needed to create a technology for these kinds of aerospace kinds of vehicles which are going to travel beyond the atmosphere and going to space. Because it has to meet the stringent environment. When I say environment, what is the environment? What is the vehicle acceleration? The speed at which the rocket is going. The inertia forces. Second thing, the atmosphere, what the satellite is going to face in the orbit, the environment. There is no atmosphere we talked about, but the kind of hot and cold days which are going to see. When you see sun, that side is more than 150, 200 degrees centigrade. When you see on the deep space, that side is minus 200 degree cryogenic temperature. Anything below minus 150 degree is termed of cryogenics. We talk about liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen in the rocket, cryogenic stage, which is flying in the geosynchronous launch vehicle, LVM3 and GSLV. There, what is stored there? Liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen. We know hydrogen, like as gas. It is liquefied and put it in that launcher. So if you want to liquefy it, you need to lower the temperature to as low as 20 Kelvin. Something like minus 253 degrees centigrade. 0 degrees centigrade, we know water turns to ice. But we are talking about minus 253 degrees centigrade. Absolute zero. What is absolute zero? Minus 273 degrees centigrade or 0 Kelvin. So we are near to that. And 4 Kelvin is the deep space we talk about. Such kind of very low temperatures you are going to face, the satellite is going to face. So this is the environment we talk about. And the kind of materials that is needed, the kind of thermal protection that is needed, and the kind of radiation what it is going to have in the space, and what are the protections that are needed to avoid these kinds of radiation, which are going to affect your electronic components inside the satellite very safely, it has to be kept. So these are the kinds of technology which are needed to protect the satellite or for the launch vehicle. So that is where we talk about state-of-the-art technology. For doing that, you have to do the research. And then you have to make the materials accordingly, a high kind of a material. Okay? And similarly the manufacturing process, no flaws are allowed, no defects are allowed. If any defect is there, in a car when you are traveling, if any problem is there, you can stop on the side of the highway. You can say come out and then take rest. But when you are vehicle, when you are going up, if something is not working, out. You are out. So, the kind of reliability with which you have to build the vehicle, the kind of reliability what is needed for the technology what is needed we talk about, it is not something which you can really tolerate. There is no compromise at all on this performance of the systems at all. So that's why we do test. Test is the only medicine for getting the reliability, nothing else. Whatever you talk about, I have made many technologies, nothing is going to work. Everything you demonstrate it, you put it in test, different kinds of environment you simulate, and then show that it is going to work. Then people will believe on that. So you build the reliability, put it in the system, it will fly. So this is the kind of thing. So apart from the exploration, you are going to have so many spin-offs. The technological spin-offs what you are going to do in the country, which is going to help you in building so many other applications in the country. That is going to come because of this. Yes, of course, going to space, of course, it is our human blood to explore the unexplored. To go to the place where nobody has gone before. We talked about dinosaurs, Children, you know that. How many years back dinosaurs were there? 50,000 years back. What happened to that? Where is it now? We see in pictures, dinosaurs. What happened to it? We say it is extinct. One day humans also will be extinct. You want to get extinct? If you don't want to get extinct, somewhere else we have to make our house. Not on earth, somewhere else. like a Earth, like a planet, maybe in Mars or Venus somewhere, you have to make. You have to build the humanity there, correct? So, who knows that in the years to come, some meteor, some big rock is going to come and hit on the surface of the soil or the earth and creates a lot of dust, like what it created 20,000 years ago. And that dust polluted the atmosphere, which the dinosaurs massively extinct. Same thing can happen. We don't know. We now talk about even diverting these kinds of meteors which are coming towards the earth. There are technologies which can shoot off towards that meteor, hit it, make it into fragments, and then go into different pieces. So that as a single piece, it is not going to come and hit onto the surface. And that kind of a technology also now we are talking about. But still it can happen. A big thing can come and hit and create a problem. The whole humanity will go. So we need a space, a hope, away from our hope, really, that's hope. That is, I am talking about not an immediate tomorrow or day after, but in the decades to come or in the center, and maybe in a century. Maybe, and these things going to Mars and all is going to happen in a few years. It is not it's a far off thing, which we talk about like a science fiction. Nothing like that. Today technology is there. So maybe in a couple of years, maybe in a 10-year, 15-year time frame, these things will happen. So there are many things there, and these are the things we have seen. Russians are gone, Americans are gone, Chinese are gone. Now India. Okay, India, what is that we boast about? Okay, we talked about lot that we talked about launch vehicles, satellite and all the things, but what is that we did some basic background on this human space technology. Yes, in the year 2007, we have made an object called spacecraft recovery experiment. You can see on the left side, a capsule-like thing, which was taken to orbit 600 kilometers and brought back safely. It was brought back in the year 2007. And then that particular thing impacted where? On the eastern side, on the Bay of Bengal, near Port Blair. So it was in the month of January 2007, launch was there. After a period of 15 days, it came back. Successfully on 22nd January, we recovered that object. So, what is the technology that we have proven there? When it is coming back through the atmosphere, it is coming back with a velocity of 7.4 kilometers per second. So what is that speciality of that? Once it enters the atmosphere, it is going to burn off. It is going to burn off at this very high heat. 2000 degrees centigrade is the kind of temperature the outer body is facing. No metal will withstand. You will need refractory kind of material or carbon-carbon kind of a composite things to withstand that. So such kind of protective devices were developed, tested in ground, and then proven in this mission. So a re-entry thermal protection system is what the technology we have built in. Similarly, re-entry navigation, right side you see the GSLV, LVM3, we talked about the fat boy. The LVM3 which made the first mission in 2014. That time, it has carried a crew module. You see on the right side, which is floating on water, a module which is currently the same size of the crew module which we talk about today. The Gaganyaan crew module. It is almost the same size. It was carried in 2014 by this rocket, but then it has gone to an altitude of 160 kilometers. It was a suborbital, like suborbital in the sense it didn't go to orbit, it didn't make around the Earth. It has gone and then came back. So when it came back, it had made a precise navigation. We wanted to impact it at a precise one place, exactly that navigation. The re-entry navigation has worked. The propulsion system in the capsule, the small capsule, there were propulsion system, that means small engines, that engines like a control, like I was steering in a car, that engines will fire to steer the capsule when it is entering the atmosphere, and precisely it has landed. And before landing, it has to deploy the parachutes. Otherwise, like a stone, it will come and fall. So, it needs to reduce the velocity. One is called aerobraking. Once it enters the atmosphere, because of the atmosphere, aerodynamic braking will happen. But that is not sufficient. We need to further reduce the velocity. For that only parachutes are kept. You know, parachute diving and all, right? Big parachutes are there, which are put at the top of the crew capsule, which will get deployed when it is coming to an altitude of something like 8 kilometers. Just about 8 kilometers above the earth, when the capsule comes, the parachute will deploy like a big umbrella. Like a big umbrella. What is the size of the parachute? It is almost the size of the auditorium. This auditorium is 25 meters or 30 meters. That is the size of one parachute. Like that, 3 parachutes are there. These 3 parachutes will get deployed, and you can see what is the kind of area, the drag, atmospheric drag, the resistive force created by the atmosphere. It is going to be. So that's how the speed reduces. And finally, when it is touching down, it is at a speed of 8 meters per second. From 7,400 meters per second. 8 meters per second. 3 order less. 8 meters per second is also something like 30 kilometers per hour. 30 kilometers per hour, if you are falling, how it will be? Is it safe? But still, that is the safest velocity. Okay.
So that it has fallen and then it was recovered. Similarly, this is another one important thing. When these things are understood, it is easy for us to move forward. See, now we are talking about human space mission. What is the most important thing in a human space mission? Yes, safety. The safety of the crew is the most important thing. The crew is nothing but the people who are going to travel. They are called crew members. So it can be boy, it can be girl, it can be adult, it can be so whatever it is. So the safety of the crew, once they step into the capsule in the launch pad, at the launch pad, like entering into a bus, you have to go to a bus stand. So entering into a rocket, you have to go to a rocket stand. That is called launch pad. So launch pad, you are going there, their vehicle is there, which is 40 meter tall, a gigantic vehicle, and at the top is the crew module. You have to climb, not like climbing on the coconut tree. There is a pedestal available. You go up, and then there is a lift, and you go into, there are doors, you open the doors, get into the crew capsule. There are seats, you get into the seats, there are belts, like in a car, you strap onto your belt, happily be there. Now you are there inside. You are happy? The rocket is going to take off now. And the rocket power is, what is the power of the rocket? What is the power of your scooter? BHP, brake horsepower. 7.5 HP, 8 HP, 10 HP, like that. Bike. Nowadays, ultra modern bikes are coming with the 40, 80 HPs and all. Car, 80, 100. What is the HP, horsepower of, the power of horse for a train locomotive? 2000 HP. An engine which can create 2000 HP. So what is the power of a rocket? You can't count. It is in millions. 10 lakhs. Just imagine. So we can't tell the rocket HP. Somebody asked, what is your HP? I can't tell you. I have to tell like 11 lakhs 25,335 HP. Something like that. One number I told. Don't take that number. But it is in millions. So rocket HP, we don't term it as in HP. We have another terminology called ISP. It is called specific impulse. It is nothing but, it's only the, you might have studied, students, you might have studied about calorific value. Petrol, diesel and all, no? When 1 kg of fuel is burnt, how much kilocalories that it can liberate. Similar way here also, when 1 kg of propellant goes, how much the thrust you will get, upward force. That is the specific impulse. So this is the kind of power. So you got into the seat and you are happy there. Now, some fires are it. What will you do? Will you cry inside the seat? Small kids are there. Outside here there is a fire. You want to jump out? You want to open the door and jump down? You are 40 meters away. You are falling into the fire. It's not possible. So what you are going to do? You have to escape. Crew safety is the most important thing. So when we make a rocket, whatever we boast, saying that the rocket is reliable, it has been tested, no failure so far, all components are tested, you be happy. Yes, I will be happy. But first you make an escape system. These doors, why number of doors are there for this auditorium? Escape. Some fire is happened here, everybody will rush to the door. And finally somebody will be caught inside. So you need, now some of the people are looking backward whether any door is there. So you need an escape. Anywhere we go, we need an escape. Whatever you boast about, rocket and all, fine, good. But you first tell me whether an escape system is there. So that even if your thing doesn't work also, I can come back safely. So that is the escape system. So this escape system is a new technology. That new technology we need to realize, design, test it, build it, put it over the rocket and again test it. So that is the test which has happened in the year 2018. It is called pad abort test. What is the pad abort test? You are at the launch pad. The rocket is ready. You are now going up. Inside the rocket you are climbed. Inside the crew capsule. The doors are closed. Now you are at what time? The launch minus 30 minutes. Within 30 minutes you might have heard about the countdown, TV. Why people are counting down? They don't know to count up. Countdown. Most thing which is attached to the ISRO launches, countdown. Minus 10, 9. Even signals also we are seeing counting down. We know 0 when it comes, we can start. Count up means we don't know at what point, whether it is plus 100, plus 200. Right? So count down correctly, when you come down to 0, you are going to take off. So the counting is going on, counting down is going on. Now there is a fire at the launch pad. Some safety officer has announced, there is a fire. Crew escape. Yes, crew has to escape. He has to press a button or the ground safety officer has to press a button. So that if the escape system, what you see here, it is again a rocket which is built on the top of the main rocket and that has got a solid motors which will separate from the main rocket and it will fire, take the crew module away from the rocket within few seconds. almost from the launch pad, 3 kilometers away, within few seconds it will take the crew module and land safely in where? Not in the land, in the sea, in Bay of Bengal. Because you know Sriharikota where it is? It is near the shore of Bay of Bengal. So it will fall in Bay of Bengal than falling on the fire, right? So when you are falling in the Bay of Bengal 3 kilometers away, there are teams are there to rescue also. So this kind of an escape is very, very important when you are in the launch pad. Is it okay that in the launch pad alone escape is sufficient? At least in launch pad you are escaping, but once vehicle takes off, where are you escape? Vehicle takes off also till you reach the orbit, you need the escape system. So this escape rocket is always there to safeguard you. So there are different kinds of escape. Up to atmospheric phase, one kind of an escape. Beyond atmosphere, there is another kind of escape. So these escape systems are built in the rocket, and this is what has been tested in the year 2018. And that we have to further test, because this is at the launch pad we have simulated. Now you may ask, now when the vehicle is going to take up, at 10 kilometers something happened to the rocket. The rocket is going to explode, and you have to escape, right? So that time also you have to demonstrate. So for that only we have devised an escape called the test vehicle. Test vehicle means another kind of a rocket where you will be putting these kinds of escape system and demonstrate escape is feasible at different altitudes like that. So this announcement came, and of course this we already talked about. Which is the rocket which is going to carry humans? The left side, the LVM-3. The LVM-3 what you saw earlier is not the one the same. Of course the bottom part is same, the top part is different, right? The top part you are seeing a slender part, that is the escape system. Whatever that you see here in the top side, the top one is the escape system, and that is the orbital module. You see at the top, that is the crew module, orange color, that is the crew module, and bottom side is the service module. So this is in more clear picture, it is there. The launch vehicle is at the center. On the left side we have the orbital module, that is the top one is the crew module in which the crew is going to be there, and the bottom one is the service module, this one. And this is the crew escape system, which is there at the top of the vehicle. This is a simple thing. Gaganyaan, when we talk about the launch vehicle comprises of mainly the launcher. Launcher is the rocket as well as the orbital module which is there at the top, and then you have the crew escape system. So inside the crew module is the crew, and you can see some small windows also there, correct? That is a window through which you can just see outside. So this rocket also we have seen, it has already made 6 developmental things, and this is the same LVM-3 which has been converted. See, normally any launch vehicle will have satellite at the top, and at the top you are seeing Indian flag, you know, which is actually called the payload fairing or the heat shield, to protect the satellite from the heat of the environment when it is going up. So that part is replaced with the crew escape system on the right side you see. So that is the main difference. Not only that, even the rocket itself, we have to make it human rated. Human rated means to make the rocket enabled for the humans to travel. So what is the difference? Basically safety factors. The reliability, you have to improve the safety factors. Structural margins, thermal margins, redundancies in avionics, redundancies in pyros, redundancies in control systems, and so on. You have to build in more kind of redundancy so that even if one chain fails, we have another chain to take on like that. So once you make more structural factors, thermal factors and all, we can say it is robust enough for the humans. Because there are some standards available. These standards we will apply, and based on which the designs of the rocket will be done and it will be made human rated. So this is the profile. You take off, and at each time the rocket stages, you know, these are the solid rockets. This is the liquid engine, and the top, the black one is the cryo. First the solid rockets will fire, it will take the launcher, and at 60 km altitude, the solid rocket booster will be burned away, and that will separate. You see there is a separation. And beyond that it travels, the liquid stage will carry, and the top orbital module it will go to orbit. And once it goes to orbit, 400 km, it is going to stay there. How many days? Maximum 3 days. So 2 to 3 crew members. Currently we are designing for 2 members, so they can stay maximum for 3 days. So once you are there, once you are happy in the orbit for 3 days, now it is time for you to come back. So for you to come back, what you need to do? You need to reduce the velocity. Yes. Earlier, the orbital velocity. If you reduce the velocity, you will be pulled by the gravitational pull of the Earth. So that is what is being done there. You see at the top, the orbital module will be turned 180 degree, and the engines will fire to reduce the velocity, and thereupon the green line it will come back. And once it is coming back, the 2 pieces, you know, the what you call the crew module and service module, that will get separated at 170 kilometers, and thereafter the crew module alone will come back. Service module, as the name suggests. What is the name? Service module. What does it mean? It is doing servicing function. Servicing for whom? Servicing for the crew module. What are the services? One, give power. Electric power. How do satellites get power in the orbit? Solar, correct? So solar energy it uses. So we have solar cells. And similarly propulsion, engine power is there. And navigation, many things are there. So once you come back, at 170 kilometers will get separated, and then afterwards the crew module alone will come back. And as we discussed, at 8 kilometer altitude, the parachutes will start deploying, and finally it will come back. Safely it will land. So you see the Indian map, and we prefer to come either on the eastern side or on the western side. So depending upon our stack experts are here, so they do the tracking, and depending upon the requirement, we can decide when you are going to come back. 16th orbit means you can fall near to the Bay of Bengal, near Port Blair. If you are missing that, you can come back on 17th orbit, which is this side. On the western side, you can impact here, which is near to Kochi, so only 700 kilometers. And once you are impacting there, your impact point will be well known. Before you start itself, the ground controllers will be knowing where you are going to impact. Accordingly, the recovery sources are there. Because it is not that you come and impact. Somebody has to there to pick you also, no? So that is called recovery. So the recovery is arranged by the Indian Navy. Indian Navy is the lead agency doing the recovery coordination. They have got their own ships, and of course IAF helicopters are there, and they will be told where the space capsule is going to impact, and precisely. So they will be near to that particular area, and once you are impacting, within 1 hour, 2 hours, they will come, they will locate you, and they will, precisely lift the crew module. First take the crew out and take the crew module in a big ship. It is somebody's ship here. It's only for understanding it is put here. Like that we have our own Indian naval ship is there, INS. So that will be taking the crew module and safely back to the land. So this is what I told that your escape strategy have to be proven. Like we have seen the pad abort. Here during the flight also you need to showcase your escape strategy as the vehicle lifts off. So for that only we made another rocket called a test vehicle. You see here. This is the rocket. This is a smaller rocket which is specifically designed and made for testing the crew escape system. This rocket is already ready. The first launch is going to take place in the month of August. Already Chairman also has announced it. So where you are going to demonstrate the crew escape strategy during the flight. Earlier we have seen at the launch pad. Now when the flight is taking place, you have to separate from the vehicle, take the crew module safely and land. That you have to demonstrate. For that only different missions, different vehicles. It is not one mission. Number of missions are there. We need to demonstrate it at different altitudes. So that is what we are going to do it. And the first one is going to take place in the month of August this year. Yes, there are many challenges. This also in one day we have already discussed. Like the re-entry, when you come back, the thermal protection that we need to do. Second thing is what? Reliability is very important. We talked about reliability, right? Testing. And make the safety factors, structural factors, thermal factors, redundancies and things like that to make it more reliable. Psychology is very, very important, right? We are all happily sitting in this auditorium because we know auditorium is not going to crash or there is no fire or immediate things going to happen, and after half an hour if I permit, you can all go home. Now itself I am exceeding, I know. Sorry. So, anyway, we can get back home, have good food and all. There is no worry at all. But is it the same case when you are traveling upward? No. Our mental, psychology, we have to be trained for that. Our loneliness is there. Sometimes you may be a solo flight. And one passenger alone will be traveling. Nobody else to talk about, nothing. If some sound is heard, here if sound is heard, we turn, we look at the faces of others. If there are no problem, yes, we are happy. Like that only, right? But there nobody is there. So psychological effect is going to affect you. And that will, in fact, when you are psychologically affected, your normal senses will not work. A simple switch, you will not be able to put it off. Because your psychology has taken over. Nothing you can do. So we need to train our mind. So psychological training is very, very important for the crew who are going to travel to space. It is not only psychological, physiological. Physiology is also important. I can also travel. Don't think that I am lean, I cannot travel. Even heavy also can travel, light also can travel. Only thing you have to be physiologically fit. Generally, lightweighted is better and strong should be there. So, when you are traveling, as we said, acceleration, inertial forces are there. 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. What is 1G? 1G is the pull of the gravitational pull of the earth, right? And when a rocket, when you are going, what is the kind of acceleration that you are going to face? Something like 3 to 4G. Means, if I am 60 kg, I will be accelerated at a force of 60 into 4, 240 kg. I will be feeling 240 kg on my body. Just imagine, something 240 kg, I kept it on my head, like that. It will be traveling, correct? And in an abort, whenever there is an escape happening, the kind of acceleration that you are going to face is not 4g, it is going to be 12g to 16g. 16 into 60, 960 kg, 1 ton. The weight of a Maruti car is 1 ton, 1000 kilogram. I am carrying Maruti car on my head. Just imagine that. That is the kind of weight that I will be feeling. But not for minutes, it will be for few seconds. Even standard says for few seconds you can withstand 16g also. But very few seconds. Similarly 4g, the rocket acceleration also. So these things you have to be trained. How? Our Institute of Aerospace Medicine in Bangalore, part of IAF, they are doing this training. They have got a device called centrifuge. Along at the end of that there is a capsule in which the people will be put and they will be moved around, accelerating like a giant wheel. They will be accelerated. So these kinds of trainings have to be given. And similarly environment, radiation protection, life support system is very important. This is one thing which I will talk and then maybe we can conclude. Life support system is very important, you know. Inside the crew capsule, how your life is going to sustain. You need the basic thing, water. You need food, right? You will be feeling hungry 3 times, 4 times in a day you are taking. And to make one orbit, it is only 1.5 hours. And you are going to be there for 2 to 3 days. Or in a day also you can come back. But still you want food, you want water, etc. So life support. Isn't that food and water? Inside the cabin, what about the atmosphere? Oxygen is required. Carbon dioxide, you are going to exhale carbon dioxide. So how you are going to control the carbon dioxide inside the cabin? There are several objects inside the cabin. Like in a new car, when you are entering, you will be having smell, right? It is called trace gas. The smell which is emanating, off-gassing, which are coming out from the materials. So these materials, they are off-gassing. So these are called trace gas. These trace gases also to be controlled. So there is something called a life support system which we will see. Okay, this and all we have talked about. You see the crew capsule inside. This is one interesting thing. The crew, is he sitting there? He is lying down, right? So this posture is called semi-supine condition. Why a crew has to be in a semi-supine or a lying down condition when he is traveling in a rocket? Why? Why can't he travel like in a car or like in an aircraft? Aircraft is also going up and traveling. Yeah. So when he is traveling like in an upright condition, like in a normal passenger car, in a bus or something like that, he is going to vertically go up. The kind of acceleration, we talked about acceleration, no? 3g, 4g, it will be acting along his axis, his vertebra. We talked about 240 kg, 60 into 4g. This bone is not designed by God for this 240 kg and all. It will simply break. Okay? So, which is the axis by which the crew can take the maximum load? See, like any device you take, it has got 3 axes. X-axis, Y-axis, Z-axis. Z is vertical, X is across, and Y is like this. So like that, crew also has got an axis. X-axis along the chest, Y-axis across the shoulder, and Z along the vertical. So you can take maximum in the X-axis, just the direction. So when he is semi-supine condition, when he is traveling, when he is moving upward, the inertial forces are acting in a direction across the chest. Because every part of your body is supported onto the seat. If you are sitting like this, your head, your neck, your body part has to act through your body to the down. So whole body will be taking part in your load transfer. Whereas when you are semi-supine, every body is resting on the seat. So the whole body is not going to feel. Every body, every part is supported. And across the chest you can take, that is how you can take the maximum load. So he has to travel in the semi-supine condition. This is one peculiar thing you may see pictures of even elsewhere in the country, I mean in the world when they travel. And this is some of the pictures inside the crew capsule. There are displays, like display consoles, TV screens are there, which the crew can see and see their journey from liftoff to orbit or coming back. And even the crew has got his own parameters, body parameters he can monitor. His heart rate, his blood pressure, PPO2. Partial pressure of oxygen in the blood, everything you can monitor because we need to monitor that. So there is something called BioVest which he has to wear like an innerwear. And then there are some non-invasive sensors which will monitor all these things. So like this, so these displays will come and these are the things inside the crew module. And now when you are coming back, the crew module can come down either vertical or in the upside down also. If it is falling upside down, there are 2 doors. One is through this one, that is called forward hatch. and the other one is through the side. Through side also you can come, through forward also. But he is coming down in this upside down condition. What will happen? If he opens the doors, what will happen? Water will get in. He has to sit mountain and come. That is not allowed. So automatically this crew module has to turn upright. For that only we have these balloons. At the top, there are floats which will get immediately inflated once it touches down on the water. It will get inflated like balloons, and that, because of the buoyant force, it will turn the crew module in an upright condition. So this is called uprighting device. So this also we need to have after impact. It's not that somehow they have impacted, everything is over. Tata bye bye. You can't say that. They are in an upside down condition. You have to make it upright automatically. So this system will do that. So the habitation challenges also we have seen. Living in space. What are the issues that already we have seen? So many things, like microgravity, psychology, physiological, everything, you can do crew training. Our crew also have undergone training in Russia, and then afterwards in Bangalore they are undergoing training. So these kinds of classroom training, physiological as well as psychological training they are undergoing. Apart from that, the space radiation and the life support system, these are the things which we need to cater by suitable technology things. That is by devising or by innovating many called engineering systems you need to create so as to protect the crew as well as the crew module against the space radiation as well as the life support system. See, the life support system, in one shot I will just tell you, it is simple. In a crew cabin, the atmosphere you have to maintain. You know that when 1, 2 or 3 crew are there, they will inhale oxygen, right? And what will happen to the oxygen inside the cabin? The oxygen partial pressure will come down. So you need to supply the oxygen. How will you supply? There are 2 ways. One, you carry oxygen in some small spheres, like your LPG cylinder. Each crew has to carry his cylinder, his oxygen, something like that. It is not that he has to carry, it is already there in the module. So oxygen spheres are there, which will be supplying oxygen at definite amount, so that whatever you consume, that will be replenished. And second thing, another way is for a long duration mission, you can't carry cylinders of oxygen. You need to regenerate the air and then make oxygen, create oxygen for that, like in ISS and all. Now next one is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide you are exhaling, here also so many hundreds of people are there. You are exhaling carbon dioxide. And this carbon dioxide when you are exhaling, if the carbon dioxide it is now naturally going out, plants are taking it. But something has to be there inside our crew module which will take away. So that is called an air revitalization system, like lithium hydroxide. So canisters are there which will absorb the carbon dioxide, so that your CO2 level, carbon dioxide level will be maintained. And similarly, cabin thermal control is very important. Here fans are there, AC is there to maintain your cabin thermal. See, each one of us are producing heat. Each one of us. How much? Almost like 100 watts or 150 watts per day. Because of our metabolism. So heat is getting generated. That is why we feel hot after some time. So this kind of heat will get generated inside the crew module also. It is not only because of the crew, but also because of the electronic equipments which are inside the crew module. Like we know, when fans also produce heat, the electric motor, when it is working, it is liberating heat, radiating heat out. So like that. So this heat, thermal control is very important. So we have circuits available to maintain the temperature. So like that, if a fire happens inside, we need to put off. Due to short circuit, some fire happened, we need to put off. Can you put off by putting, here there may be carbon dioxide cylinders, they would have put. You can immediately point the carbon dioxide cylinders to the root of the fire to put it off. Because you remove the supply of oxygen, so that the flame will be put off. But here you can't do it, because inside the crew cabin, we are controlling carbon dioxide, along with that you are pumping carbon dioxide by putting off. That is not allowed. So we have to go for a water-based kind of a system. So these are the various, like making the food for the astronauts, both what we packaged, especially in a package, and then they have to eat it there. And water also, can you put water in a glass and then drink it in space? No, because of this zero-G effect. If water is put out, it will remain there like that. So this is the kind of a life support system. And this is one important thing. When you are in an orbit, there are threats in the orbit. There are many particles in the orbit which is acting on you, called debris. It can come and hit like a bullet on you and create a puncture. And when it punctures, the gas can go out. So it's a life-threatening thing. It is called MMOD, micrometeorite orbital debris. You need to protect your crew module for that. So we have to do for that also. And crew selection and training, we already discussed. The crew had to be trained for the systems inside the crew module. Like in a car, when you are going for training in a car, driving, Nowadays they are giving you simulators. So you get into the car simulator, you drive, you are as if you are feeling that you are driving in a highway. You apply brake, the car stops. You turn, your car turns, like that. So like that, you have to make simulators for training the crew when they are traveling in the crew module, Gaganyaan. And similarly, there has to be a classroom training. You should know what is steering, what is accelerator, what is clutch, what is brake, everything you should know. Like that, in a crew module, you should know what are all the various displays he has seen. No? Many switches are there, he has to learn. So the crew training is part of the crew selection and training. These are the different simulators, like car simulators, different simulators which the crew has to undergo training so that he will be familiar when he is entering into the crew module. He will be familiar when something goes wrong, he can also activate. Yes, certification is very, very important. As we said some time back, when I am saying that my vehicle is ready, nobody is going to accept it. So there is a certification body, national certification body is there. We need to convince them that my rocket has been tested. Each and every component what I have put in the rocket has been tested. Every fastener which I have used for tightening a particular package. Every solder what I have done for creating a package. A car, a wiring of a car, as well as a package, every testing whatever that I have done is as per the requirement. That I have to show it in a document. It has to be documented. Everything has to be well documented, and we have to produce certificates, or we have to produce the records and documents. Then only speaking will not get clear. We need to show it on records. So there is a certification board which will be finally looking at whether our vehicle is safe for the crew to travel safely and then come back. So this is also a very vital thing called Human Rating Certification Agency. This is also there a national body. So there are many offsprings are there. We have discussed that. When you are doing these kinds of technology for the not only for the launch vehicle mission or the satellite mission, even for a human space mission, when we are dealing with the cutting edge kind of a technology, what are these spin-offs? Both in the terms of advanced technologies, or in the terms of materials and manufacturing, or in the terms of conducting microgravity experiment. Because the new kind of medicines, the people are thinking about it. Medicines you can manufacture in the microgravity environment. It has got a better potency there. So many researches are going on, and bioastronautics, we are talking about life sciences, the science, biology, life science, biological science, so many things are there, like astrobiology, astrophysics, and so on. So many things are there. So these life sciences also, what kind of bioastronautics, what kind of things that we are going to have, the spin-offs. So these are all the spin-offs what we can get out of this, and industry is going to really benefit out of these kinds of cutting-edge technology and things like that, which can be normally applied for many of our normal things what is happening in the ground. So it is not that ISRO alone is doing. It is a pan-India program across the nation. So we have many collaboration, national, international. Many of the Indian armed forces are there, like IAF, Indian Air Force, Navy is there. Similarly, all the DRDO units are there, almost all of them. And institutes are there, like Indian Institute of Technologies, NITs are there, CSIR labs are there. More than 350 industries are there, apart from the ISRO centers which are spread across the country. Many centers, units and labs and things like that. And the whole of, all of us, the whole nation is involved in this particular Gaganyaan mission. So this mission, we can have, there are many milestones we need to, before we really carry out the manned mission, there are many things which we need to do to demonstrate the safe deployment of the crew escape system, to demonstrate the safe deployment of the parachutes. Many tests are lined up, like the first one you see in a helicopter, you are carrying a crew module, dropping it so that you can validate the parachute system. And similarly, the test vehicle missions, where you are going to test the crew escape system. We have seen some time back, crew escape system, test vehicle mission. Pad abort, though we have done an abort in the launch pad, we have to once again repeat it to show its reliability. And similarly, the unmanned flights, before we really take up the manned mission, 2 identical unmanned successful missions have to take place. In that mission, man will not be there, or human will not be there. But except for the human, it will be all like one-to-one. So we have to carry it. Maybe some humanoids will be there, anthropomorphic dummies will be there, but humans will not be there. Then only it will be cleared for the launch. So this launch is not far off. It is going to take place in a matter of few years. So future, of course, there are space tourism we can build in, and we can harness resources from other planets. We can build colonies in Moon, Mars, that also we can do. And these are some of the other concepts of going to space. Orbital reef, this is again that we have seen now that fellow is trying to make an orbital reef like a space station. There also is there nuclear, like many are there. This is all taken from internet only. You can read on. So this is what all about the Indian human space mission. We talked about the launch vehicle. We talked about the orbital module. We talked about the crew escape system. Where we are going around there, 400 kilometers around there, maximum 2 crew 3 days. And what are the critical technologies that we need to develop, the life support system that is required, the life-threatening things which are there in the orbit or which are there in the space, how we are going to take care of that, the non-atmosphere, non-extinct of atmosphere, the space radiation, and the kind of temperature extremes, how we are going to tackle all these things in the last 1.5 hours we have discussed. And this is, once we demonstrate that in the ground and to the various tests, we will be certified for carrying humans to orbit and then safely come back. So all of us, you are all there along with us in the journey of carrying or making this dream come true in a matter of few years. Thank you very much.
Beautiful talk. Dear audience, now it's turn of question and answer session. Kindly raise your hand so that we can pass the mic. Now question time.
ಬೈಕ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಬಿಡಪ್ಪ ಬೈಕ್.
Hello. Please give one more.
Many thanks, no words, but I have one observation. It was Professor Satish Dhawan who decades back, I'm sorry, Sir, Atan sir, thank you very much. This is everybody's dream, space scientists to communicate like you. Many, many thanks. One observation is, Professor Satish Dhawan, decades back, he made a remark which is relevant today. Future of mankind, the future of mankind in space will be determined by socio-cultural imperatives rather than science and technology. Decades back, you rightly said, we are able to do window shopping and demonstrate. We attain and sustain. Mars is an example.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is only an observation. No question.
Thank you.
Sir, good evening, sir. There's something called space junk. Okay, and NASA and other space research organizations are thinking of far ahead compared to ISRO when it comes to bringing back those space junk. At the same time, I also want to know what about the rockets, the reusable rockets that means that can be taken back, like the SpaceX, the Elon Musk SpaceX company is doing. So once it is launched, it can be reused. It can be reused. What about such future plans of ISRO? And I also want to know, I also want to congratulate ISRO for reducing the cost price when it comes to economy, of Chandrayaan 1. It is lesser than the budget of the Titanic movie. That is what I came to know. So when it comes to, it is hugely applaudable when it comes to the economy of the cost that ISRO is spending on space research. Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you. First of all, on the space junk, that is called the space debris. So we are also creating, the space debris is caused because of the launches of the satellites. The last part of the rocket, the final stage, which is carrying the satellite and injecting, that also remains in the orbit. So the last portion of the launch vehicle or the rocket also is there in the orbit. Along with that, satellites are also there, and satellites are sent there for some few years only. Its official lifespan is something like 5 years to 30 years. Something which is going in polar orbit, maybe the official lifespan may be 5 years. The lifespan can be 20 years, 14 years, 15 years like that. But what happens to those satellites which are there in orbit? After that, it is like a dead body. So this is what is going to create a lot of debris, or as you said, the space depth which is getting created. And in the beginning of the years, the numbers were very, very less. But nowadays we can see plenty of launches are being taken. It's very important because when you are talking about a space, human space mission, that a satellite is going, and if at all anything happens, satellite will become dead. But think about a human like our ISS, International Space Station, which is there in 400 kilometers, and because of the junk, which is also traveling at the same speed like that of the satellite, like 7.4 kilometers per second, and if it is coming in an opposite direction, the relative velocity is doubled because this fellow is going 7, other fellow is coming at 7. So 14 kilometers per second impacting even a paint can kill the satellite. That kind of a thing. So what does this ISS do? Whenever they get that kind of a thing, they monitor it and then they raise the orbit or they don't orbit. So these are all the things they are avoiding this space debris hit. So what your question was, what we are going to do on that? In fact, we also have to do, we can also do many things. Like, the satellites, once they are all defunct. Defunct means once the lifespan is over, we can deorbit it. And then that is what recently also one of the satellites we have demonstrated. Of course, this time Mr. Srinath can highlight more on that. One of the satellites we have done that. So like that, if you do it slowly, because of the Earth's drag, it will come back and it enters the atmosphere. And once it enters the atmosphere, it burns off. And then that threat of that particular satellite is no longer going to be there. Similarly, the launch vehicle also, the final state which is going to be there, after injecting the satellite, it can be turned and deorbited so that it can be brought back. Suppose if the satellites are in an orbit of 36,000 kilometers, what we can do is, there is an orbit called graveyard orbit. Like our cemetery, there is a graveyard orbit, which is more than 45,000 kilometers. You push the satellite into that 45,000 kilometers so that it will never come back. Okay, so these kinds of things which you can avoid the polluting the useful space in the orbit. The useful spaces are like 400 kilometers, 800 kilometers down, where you have to put your satellites for remote sensing and all. Because the maximum threat is there in the 800 kilometers orbit. That's why all human space mission we are doing something around 400 kilometers and things like that.
Can you fix the exact orbit that it is going to take? What is the orbit, what is the height, and how many days? Or is it kept a secret? And one thing. Secondly, is the crew members who are going to undertake this journey, are they going to remain strapped to their seats, or are they going to perform any simple exercises or experiments or activities during the space flight?
Very good, sir. Actually, the first question is regarding the number of, what is the orbit size? Orbit size is 400 kilometers. That is from the surface of the Earth. It is at an altitude of 400 kilometers around the Earth. It is like almost 51 degrees inclined to the equator plane. So that I have shown that. So the height is 400 kilometers. So that is your first question. There is nothing secret in that. And the number of days is maximum 3 days. 2 crew, 3 days. Second question was whether they are going to get strapped down to their seat. No. We cannot ask them to remain in the seat for 1 day, 2 days. We know. After a few hours, we also want to get up. So they will be unstrapping from their seat. But then, inside our crew module, the space is very, very limited. So they can just move a little bit only. Not like you can make a walk like this and all. That is not. Because the diameter of the space capsule is only 3.1 meter. You can imagine how much is 3.1 meter. It's something like 10 feet. That is the diameter. In that, wherever they can move, like they can swim. Because it is 0G, they are not walking. They will be just floating. So they can move inside the space. And even they can stretch. Even our first astronaut, who is the first astronaut who has travelled? Indian, Rakesh Sharma. In fact, he is our mentor also. So Rakesh Sharma, 1984, he has travelled in a Russian rocket, and he also spent there 2 days, and then he did yoga. So like that also, crew can do. If they know the yoga, in fact, as part of their training, they are also doing it. So they will not be starting on in the orbit. But ascent and descent, very critical phase. Because ascent, rocket climbing, you can't ask him to come out at all, because continuous inertia forces will be acting. So you have to be strapped on. Descent also is very important. Except for this, in the orbit, they will be unstrapped and they can do experiments also. Some microgravity experiments they will be given so that they can also do that.
In fact, Rakesh Sharma wanted to come for this particular program due to his bad health. He avoided last year.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all of you. While introducing the chief guest today, it was mentioned that he played a very key role in PSLV C-37. That is the time when India created a world record by launching 104 satellites in a single launch. Okay, he played a very important role. And there is a video of roughly about 2 minutes. Not ISRO has not put that video. Planet M, the company, one of the companies which launched the satellites there, they had 88 satellites. Planet M. They have put this video. Just I would like to say one sentence. Mr. Hutton also mentioned, November 21st, 1963, we launched the sounding rocket. That was American, launched by Indians. Fast forward, February 15, 2017, India launched 100. Americans were clapping because 96 satellites were American satellites. Please enjoy.
Our team is like an orchestra or a band. We're all rehearsing and practicing together to build something really amazing. Our team is really close. We're kind of like family, so it's just like very, very exciting accomplishment for all of us.
There's a huge range of uses for data imagery, from agriculture to disaster response, to tracking deforestation, to helping with consumer maps, many different things.
A potential base layer of information, data that's never existed. The applications are building up this. Doing something like this is a lot like running a 4-minute mile. We've proven and proven that it can be done. Now what's next? Really, the reason why we're here is to put the data into everyone's hands and to change the world.
Yes, that was the video. And Mr. Hutton played a very important role in that 104 satellites. You saw how Americans clapped. Aren't you proud that India is a great country? If so, give a big hand for India.
So recently we just heard that India played a very vital role in the discovery of gravitational waves, and we hear. So where do you think is the future of astrophysics?
Yeah. No problem. No, let me take it. What is the future of astrophysics in India?
That I think some of you can answer.
No, if don't mind, Girish.
So, India Lego is coming up in Maharashtra. So, our government has given approval sometime last year, and the first gravitational wave detection, unfortunately, our mission AstroSat was looking on the other side, but also it contributed in a way that to say that we have removed half part of the hemisphere, saying that it did not come from this side. In that way, AstroSat supported and is planning for a mission dedicated for gravitational wave follow-up. So it's called Daksha, and it is in discussion stage. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No, it is not a question, it is a presentation. Thank you so much, Mr. Hutton, for a very, very wonderful presentation. Actually, we were in touch with this Creactive team. Has come a long way in a gap of about 15 days. See, on 17th of June, we had one Venkatraman night, a 9-year-old boy, presenting about Mangalia. today we are hearing from the horse's mouth. Really, this is a fantastic travel for a layman like me. Thank you so much, and we are excited. Thank you.
Sir, directly we will come to the question. I have two questions. As I understand from your wonderful presentation, the primary objective of the space program is to send the Indian astronauts to space and bring. In addition, do you have any secondary objectives other than pertaining to the human space program? Like for example, okay, monitoring the acceleration, his pressure, his temperature, all those come under the primary objectives. In addition, have you planned any other experimental missions for those 3 days in microgravity sort of thing? And the second question is, are you planning to take any insurance for these Indian astronauts, and what is the value that you have assessed for their life?
That is difficult to answer. Of course, you said the primary objective is demonstrating our capability, indigenous capability of taking human. That is the primary objective. But along with that, microgravity experiments are also planned. In fact, there are many Indian institutes are involved in that. We already signed a MOU with many of the Indian institutes of designing a microgravity payload. What kind of experiments we can do in the microgravity environment. Either even that will be done during unmanned flight also. It is totally autonomous. A man need not do that. Even unmanned flight also we can do it, and man also can do it. So this is planned. That is the first point. Second point, the second part of the question is about insurance. Of course, they will be insured, but I can't tell you the value.
Sir, just one question. Just last week our Prime Minister signed a Artemis Accord in the US. How it will supplement our space program?
This Artemis Accord is a long way to go. It's immediate thing for the Gaganyaan, no? Gaganyaan is standalone, and which, as I mentioned, already ISRO is the major, plus the national institutions are there. Artemis Accord and all is for a longer duration. That is our participation in the Artemis program. That and all, nearly, it has to be charted out. But definitely, there will be some technologies in the future, beyond Gaganyaan. We are talking about a sustained human space mission. We are talking about, docking with the International Space Station and things like that. It may really help. But immediately, because this Gaganyaan is all about, in another matter of 2-3 years, we have to do that. So this Artemis, there is no direct link towards that, but in a long way to go, in a longer run, it will have a better thing. To have, when you collaborate with them, even they will get some of the modules from them, and always there will be an exchange of these technologies will happen. That will be helping both the countries. It will happen.
I request some students to ask more. I think many seniors are asking. Ganesh, you can ask. One senior I will give after Ganesh. I want more students to ask questions. Maybe you can take it up. Ganesh, please quickly straight away to the question, please.
Right, sir. Sir, you said about crew training. Crew training. Yes, sir. Sir, how and where the astronauts get crew training, sir?
Yeah. Astronauts, initially, we took them to Yuri Gagarin. So, currently, they are undergoing training. So, in future, it will be all here. So, we did not have to go in as well as be given by a year.
Sir, namaskaram, sir. My about the space debates, the privatization of space technology, like that the Starlink satellites is also, there is thousands of Starlink satellites also making a huge crowd in the space. How will be the space management, and how will be it will affect future programs?
That's the thing I was just, it is going to play a threatening role of being safe in the orbit. So that's why periodically they also will be having a plan of deorbiting, even constellations also, because they are launching in thousands, and these things will act after the period of 3 years, 5 years, it will act like a jungle. So it is going to create a problem, so they should have a plan of deorbiting it. So that is where even the space treaties now, how to use the outer space. Again, there is a UN treaty, UN corpus, it is there. So there are committees debating that, and each country has got its own moral responsibility of ensuring that beyond the usage point of the satellite, we need to deorbit and make the space clean for other useful satellites and even space to survey that. Otherwise, it is going to be a threat, because it is not 1 or 2, it is going to be in thousands.
Sir, I must thank you for
You filled up the confidence in us by your stamina for more than 2 hours. Right, I congratulate you for that. One question I would like to ask is, sometimes crash landing on moon is done on the other side of the moon because we don't see it, and it seems that possibility of water could be learned from that crash landing. Am I right, sir?
Yeah, possible. Only you need some equipment, instruments and all to detect that and then deliver those things to us. Should be possible.
After Chandrayaan 1, LRO has crash landed. There are certain L-crash experiments done by NASA. Only soft landed by Chinese on the backside. Manju, please go ahead. Straight away question, please, Manju, don't mind.
Nowadays, people are talking more about mining and moon and mining Mars.
No, it's good to know that people are asking about moon and other Mars mission, but he's a man for sending humans to the space. Yes, your point is taken, please, sir.
Yeah, no, that's right. That is all possible. We are talking about that is to understand the regolith of the moon surface, to bring fuel back to Earth. We are talking about helium-3 and all. So these are all like fictions nowadays, but then we need to build up technology to do in a massive scale there. So for that we need to build the technology to have a base camp there. You have to be there. You cannot go and 1 or 2 days stay and come back. You have to be there, camp it, and then do all these kinds of experiments. And then also you need to take the resources and bring it back here for your usual purpose. It will happen in the days to come.
Yeah, next question. The point. Okay, continue. Please continue.
My name is Arthur.
Yeah.
So my question is, as of now, Elon Musk is talking about life.
Elon Musk is talking about man's taking life.
No, Elon Musk is currently talking about cultivating life, making Mars a habitable planet.
Yeah, Mars as a habitable planet.
So can it be actually possible in the upcoming years?
Yes. So even there are plans. Yeah, there are plans of first making habitats there. Habitat kind of a structure which is actually it is like a balloon. You go to that particular place and inflate it, so it becomes like a big hall, and then where people can be, more number of people can accommodate. Otherwise, you build a structure, carrying it in the rocket is very difficult to contain it. If you make a structure and then carry it, instead you carry inflatable habitats. That means like a balloon, no floats. You go there, you pack it in the rocket, go to Mars, there you inflate it with the stored gases and all. So once it is inflated with atmospheric air, it becomes like a big balloon, like a spaceship it will become, and there you can carry on. Now, we are talking about so for that, for us to survive there, we need oxygen, no? So we need organisms there. So we need to cultivate organisms and then slowly start life where it will liberate out of oxygen, which we can make use of it. In the initial days, you have to carry, and then you have to regenerate oxygen from the atmosphere. But for a longer duration, for cultivating and other things, you need to create that kind of an organism and make it to harvest and then build a long-lasting thing. That and all is a huge task which needs to be done, but in a small way, he is starting now. But definitely, the technologies are leap forwarding actually. So it is not the technology what we see today that linearly. It is exponentially it is happening. So it will be coming in the years to come.
So good evening, sir. My name is Varenya. So my question is, as you mentioned that in a few decades or centuries, humans might extinct. So we might be.
I'm not telling that. It's only a possibility.
Yeah, it's a possibility. So instead of sending humans to Moon or Mars, why not send a junk from Earth to other places? Because we haven't found resources in Mars or Moon.
Yeah. So that's why this junk, you are telling, why not we send the junk back? Correct. So this junk, otherwise called big meteors, which are coming from outer space, a big rock. So there are now technologies which it is like your anti-satellite missile, something like that. You need to fire towards that particular junk and make it into fragments. Instead of coming as a big rock, you make it into big fragments. Blasting. Yes, sir. Yeah. August.
So basically, is it L40 only one
Yes,
L40
yes.
you are going to have?
You are right. You are right.
Wonderful.
It's
Okay.
like our GSLV stuff on L40. It's a similar thing only, but it's another liquid stage with the 40 tons of different propellant loading we will do, depending upon which option we want to get. So we are not calling it as an L40. It is a liquid powered, single liquid powered engine, like a Vikas engine.
Basically, we are trying to cover this Gaganyaan for the next 2 or 3 years for the students. So basically, we are writing in a small articles, and I would like to give that one the newsletter along with the book, the eyesight improvement to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Due to shortage of time, we will be winding up. Kindly excuse us. We can have a discussion offline. The rest of the program will continue, please.
Thank you, sir, for patiently answering all those questions. And thank you all the audience for asking those questions. I hope your queries are answered. So now we are glad.
This is the book what I have written for improving the eyesight. So basically, I am 74 years old, worked in ISRO for 40 years, from Aryabhatta to Chandrayaan 1. 2012, I retired, 11 I retired. The last 10 years, I have been doing this, basically space, about the space, we are writing all these things. To give this one to our attention for the wonderful speech. Oh, he has taken all of us to the orbit and he has brought us back. Please give a standing ovation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. We are glad to share the news of the release of our e-book, Prasanna. Prasanna is a book which comprises the series of 100 lectures of Creactivegbd talks.
I request Mr. Atan sir, Mr. Hiriyana sir, Mr. Srinivasan, SKS Memorial Trust, Shri Ramesh sir, KSTA, and Mr. Guru Prasad sir, Ms. Supriya Naika, Dr. Girish, Mr. Srinath sir, and Srimati Rupa ma'am to come on the stage and release our e-book, Prasanna.
You are not connected to it. ಹಾಕಿಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳು.
Dale, le voy a